completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hairloss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Jesus Christ, it's lucky for us we weren't actually going live on Maxim today.
I know. Isn't that just a lovely development?
Wow. What a fucking clusterfuck. Guys, welcome to the show, 888-659-3727. For whatever reason, and you know, a lot of people don't like to talk about the technical issues. All of a sudden, one of the shots just wasn't working.
Camera
out of the blue.
A or camera B? It's camera B.
It was camera B. Anyway, guys, welcome to the broadcast. Phone number 888-659-3727. We are live. Do me a favor, somebody call in. I want to make sure the phones are working as well because I had to kind of reconfigure everything for this broadcast. So, again, we have all lines open, 888-659-3727. If you're new to the broadcast, don't know who we are, why we're here, I'm the founder of the American Hair Loss Association, author of The Bald Truth and the Truth About Women's Hair Loss, original book that was published back in 1998. Before some of you guys were born, probably, I'm sure.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
You know, I was talking to a guy from the UK yesterday, had a nice long conversation with him, a guy about my age, and he was asking about the book, and he said he really wanted to get his hands on it. And I said, listen, man, that's great. If you want a history lesson about this industry, if you want to know what it was like to try to figure things out before the fucking internet, that's a great
when
fucking
you're in
book.
third grade?
Yeah. That is, it is Hair Loss 101 and the Hair Loss Industry 101. It was the first consumer guide of its kind ever published by a major publishing house. And at this point, it's a relic. Now, I appreciate it. It's fascinating to me, and I do appreciate people still buying the book, and that's why my publishers keep it in print. But that thing has only been updated once, and maybe at some point I will update it. But honestly, part of me is like, look, there was a time when print really mattered. There was a time when print, you know, being published by a top 4 publishing house was a big deal, and still is. You know, but these publishing houses, you know, what they say in the world of publishing is bestsellers aren't written, they're made. And essentially what that means is they're made. The publishing house chooses during the year how many bestsellers they're going to produce, and they essentially publish the rest, throw it out there, and see what sticks. Now that's what they did with my book. Yes, that's what they did with my book. And if I didn't get myself on the radio back in 1998, that book never would have become a bestseller. It never would have been published in 5 languages. It never would have gotten a updated version going from a mass market trade paperback to a trade paperback, which doesn't happen in publishing. But I'm still telling you, while I appreciate it, there's no need to buy the book. All the information is here for free on The Bald Truth. And there's a lot of information you can find online, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, obviously.
You know? I know there was a guy that, I don't know if he called in or he commented at some point saying that I was in the chat last time we did the show that, well, when we said we don't sell anything, they're tired of hearing that you sell books. I'm like, I don't sell books. No. Never heard a fucking commercial for The Bald Truth book on this broadcast?
In fact, you tell people not to buy the book because it's so old.
I do.
Just like you did now.
I do. But it's wild, the royalties are still coming in.
Because people are buying the book. And that's because you're guilty of selling the book.
It's kind of like, you know, I think people, the people who are really into it, the people that are so into things that they actually watch this broadcast, and they want to know the real history of what's happening. They kind of see it as, hey, look, I got a copy of The Bald Truth. This is part of the history of consumer advocacy in the hair loss industry.
And I think it's interesting for people that actually want to look through a window into the past because it was written so long ago, and to see how it applies today. Not to mention to fact check you about what you're saying now. But yes. that's actually why I think people should buy it, so that they can have a window into the past and see how it applies to today. It's kind of like the Nostradamus book of hair loss.
Well, that's interesting that you say that. Thank you. The past was fucking brutal, but as brutal as the past was in this industry, both in the non-surgical and surgical side, it is worse than it's ever been. And, I'm not a person that reads comments about anything, but I was sent a few comments about some guys that wrote some comments on your YouTube page. And there was one cat, and by the way, guys, don't send me the comments. It doesn't do anything for me. But one guy apparently said that your relevance, I guess you and Spencer Stevenson, I think they mentioned me. That we're only trying to maintain relevance by saying that the industry is more fucked up than ever, and that there's no need for
I didn't see that. Really?
Yeah, quote unquote middlemen anymore. I don't promote hair transplant. I don't promote hair transplant surgeons. I need you guys to know that. We have an organization that was founded over 20 years ago. If you want to find a safe place to start to do your research, great. Go to ihrus.org. If you don't and you want to take upon yourself to do the research, go for it. I don't think that's a terrible idea. We're just going to keep telling you the truth, and whoever listens, listens. And whoever doesn't has still has a chance of being okay.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
But it's a lot more rare than you realize. We don't hear from the guys who are like, hey, you know what? I did my own research and I'm so fucking happy. You know who I hear from? I hear from the people who want to commit fucking suicide because they decided to take the advice of an influencer on Instagram or on TikTok. That's just the reality. So, either way you're rolling the dice. But to me, the odds are better if you kind of understand what's truly happening in the industry, why people are doing what they're doing, how things are being done, why it's possible for the certain companies to charge such low rates, what's going on behind the scenes, and then make your fucking decision. That's all I had to say, Joe.
Well, I think that's a mouthful. Well done.
Well, thank you.
Good job.
Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. I think if you saw Joe's thumbnail for the program, we are going to be doing something, and I think it's a pretty big deal. And we're going to start streaming the broadcast with a partner, and we're also going to have a lot of content on this partner's digital assets and on their paper assets, their actual brick and mortar publishing assets. What is that called now? What is that called? Print.
Well, the translation of that into English speak would be we're going to be working with Maxim magazine. They will be streaming this show on their website, and I think they might be promoting it on social. I don't know.
They will be. Yeah.
And there will be articles printed in Maxim magazine about the bald truth and hair loss, and they will be getting contributions from people in the industry.
Well, here, essentially, let me put it into English. Essentially, let's make it simple. Maxim magazine reached out to us. They recognized the value of what's going on and how big the hair loss industry is. There's been no mainstream publication, either online or in print, that's ever really focused any type of long form information on hair loss. And there's, I guess, someone who was smart enough to recognize that this is going to be of value to them and to their readerships, to the readership, and also that, you know, this is a really fucked up industry. And they've taken it upon themselves to partner with the American Hair Loss Association and the Bald Truth to provide their readership and their viewership with the information they need to make informed decisions. And I think it's going to be great for those in need. And all you guys who have found us already, all you guys who spend a lot of times on the forums and on Facebook groups and stuff like that, you are the minority of the people who are actually going in and buying products and services and getting fucked up by this industry. The majority of people are people who will scroll down their social feeds or pick up a magazine ad, read something in Men's Health about some fucking, you know, new technology, and then jump on that. So I think this is a really great opportunity to get our message out to those who, you know, the majority of us and consumers who just kind of like do things passively. And I think we're going to be able to change that. So anyway, phone number 888-659-3727. I guess today is the official launch as far as us being able to state that we're partnering with Maxim, and we are going to do a launch, I guess, in a few weeks. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, and the reason why the thumbnail is up now is just to fine-tune it and just to kind of lay the foundation on my end anyway, because I manage this channel. And but yeah, good things are coming up, and you know, it's not just with Maxim. I mean, a lot of things are going on. I'm kind of excited because I got at least one new doctor I have accepted as a hair transplant mentor, recognized clinic, and their intro video will be out probably next week. So you guys can look forward to that. And got several more applications I'm working on. I gotta say, you know, I've said it before on the show, and Spencer's talked about it as well. I am excited about the future of the surgical side of hair restoration, simply because the quality of people that not only I've met recently and I've seen online, but also that have been applying for membership, and it's refreshing, and it's exciting, and it doesn't change the fact that, you know, it's still a very precarious industry. Whether you do your research or not, it doesn't really matter. You still gotta be careful. And here's the bottom line: you're still relevant. It's nice to see the future. Well, thank you, Spencer. Yeah, thank you, and you are too. Yeah, you mean something. I still mean something. You're good enough. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's nice to see the talent that's out there that's fairly unrecognized, and hopefully it's going to be changing. So you guys got some new clinics, some you've heard of, some you haven't, to look forward to adding to your roster or your list of clinics to choose from. Well, I'm going to be candid. You know, there's a lot of great things happening, and the people that find us, and now, you know, with the extended audience, that's going to be great. But the industry is growing by leaps and bounds. It's growing exponentially. So the walking wounded is just, they're still going to exist. I do not believe, especially the way that it's so difficult to herd, it's like herding cats with all these physicians, that there's going to be one really written in stone standard of care that everyone's going to follow. It's just not going to happen. Yep. Now, we can write in stone what the standard of care should be, and we're going to be able to do that this year. But there's going to be plenty of rogue guys, med spas, all that shit, that are going to continue to do what they do. That's just the way that it is. Nothing's going to stop them. So it's going to be up to everyone out there to do their due diligence, and you know, maybe spread the word a little bit if you can. But people are sure going to get fucked up. I don't care if Spotify picked up the show and, you know, we were getting 1 million downloads. Doesn't make a difference. We'll save more people, but people are still going to get fucked up. It's the nature of the game, nature of cosmetic surgery, nature of hair loss in this industry. Let's take a phone call, Joe. How's that phone doing? Is it treating you well, the phone? It is, and it's helping to manage the show. So, you know what I would suggest?
There you go.
Is there a way
What's
to
that?
kind of manage the show through maybe a laptop or something where it doesn't look like you're distracted because you throw me the fuck off?
Well, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I got to keep you on your feet.
I'm just like, is this guy even listening to me? Let's see who this is.
No.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
It's Morty from Brooklyn.
Fuck Morty. First
Hey, guys.
caller, man. How are you?
It works. It works.
The phone works.
Hey, thanks for testing. Bye.
Yeah, we can hang up now.
Guys, congratulations on the Maxim deal. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Let's just hope that it works out. Let's hope that there's enough guys who are too lazy to do their due diligence, but they want to read an interesting article or see an interesting, post through Maxim. We just want to find more people.
Yeah,
I hear you. It's funny. I remember when Maxim came out. I think it was in the '90s. It came out as print, and it was kind of like the teenage boys' alternative to Playboy because it didn't have naked girls in it. It just had girls in bikinis in it.
Yeah.
And now all of those boys, all those boys who bought Maxim in back in the day,
They're all
are
fucking
losing their
bald
hair,
now.
and so,
Yeah.
exactly.
They're all bald. Yeah.
Look, the whole thing when I was pitched this, it was essentially pitched as, or when we discussed it, let's put it that way, hot chicks and hair loss, and it's never been a combination that the mainstream really understood. But in my view, doing what I've been doing for almost 25 years, it's a no fucking brainer. Everyone wants to.
Dude.
They go to these magazines and they go to these digital resources for, women and gear and hairstyles and shoes and watches and all that stuff. This is where it's at, man.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of like what Specs is doing with Eighth Gentleman. It's a similar kind of a play. It makes good sense. I think you guys are going to do well. If anything, you may actually make Maxim a little more relevant than it's been lately. I would say.
Oh my
but
God!
yeah,
I'm going to send that clip to Maxim. How dare you?
Exactly. Yeah. They're going. Every store in North America, Morty's going to walk in with asking for a copy of Maxim. Like, nope, sorry, we were told not to sell to you.
Yeah.
Are you Morty? No, we can't sell this to you. And look,
I mean, because you guys are all over. You're all over the new media. The old media is just trying to catch up. I used to work for magazine publishers. I worked for Fairchild Publications back in the '90s, and they had their own men's magazine. It was called N Magazine. Yeah, Fairchild Publications. They published Women's Wear Daily, the Daily News Record, W Magazine.
I know Women's Wear Daily well. I was in the schmata business growing up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I worked for them from like '91 through '98, and it was a good place to work. But anyway, I just wanted to congratulate you on the deal. I also wanted to mention a few things. First I wanted to mention there's this new YouTuber called Rate This Clinic who did a series of videos, and I'm not sure if you guys have seen them.
I haven't seen
shit.
shit.
Like a British guy. Yeah, he basically he got pretty torn up by a Turkish clinic called Asli Tarkan, and he recently got some surgery with Dr. Mwamba, and so there's it was a good series of videos that he did. He showed how badly his donor was destroyed and how Mwamba actually was able to fix it.
Joe, is that the clinic that you talk about sometimes?
I don't talk about any clinic like that, but there is a clinic that I've featured in some of my
no, is that with the dancing
my TikToks?
Dancing chick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Asli Tarkan is the TikTok with the woman who's dancing, because that woman who's dancing, her name is Asli Tarkan, and that's the name of her clinic. And this young man, he basically got he got pretty badly messed up, and Dr. Mwamba fixed him doing something called fit farming, which is a term I'd never even heard of. So I was wondering if you could comment on that, either one of you guys. What is fit farming?
Well, fit farming was originally introduced by Dr. Cole in the mid 2000s, I think, maybe around 2004, 2005.
The FIT technique.
Okay.
It's FIT before it was called CIT. And what he would do is it was called follicular isolation technique before he switched it to coal isolation technique. And fit farming was when a graft would be removed from the donor region, the traditional scalp donor region, placed wherever on the scalp it was going to be placed, and then a body hair would be harvested and placed into the scalp donor extraction site, so that there would be no gap where that hair was extracted from. There would still be a new hair growing to replace the one that was extracted, but instead of a scalp hair growing out, it would be a body hair. That's the original fit farming. Now, what Dr. Mwamba did doesn't, like, it would make sense if he did that for this guy, and I don't know who this guy is. I've never seen his case, so I'm not sure how he would approach it. But if his donor area is depleted, and the goal was to replenish that donor region aesthetically, I wouldn't call that fit farming if he's taking body hair to put into the scalp, because that's just kind of that. Maybe that's how he's calling it. I don't know. But if that's what he's doing, then yeah, I mean I think Mwamba's been doing that for a couple of patients where he's been using body hair to kind of replenish areas. I think I've seen him do that a couple times. So yeah. Calling it fit farming, I wasn't aware he was calling it that, but that's the history of fit farming.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that little detail, because I was looking on Walma's site after I saw the video, because I'd never heard the term, and I wanted to know what the heck it was about, and so that's a very useful answer. Thank you.
So how are this kid's results?
Yeah, how's it look?
Well, he did, the last video was just post surgery, so it's too early to tell. But, I mean, the work looks pretty good. He had a lot of things done. Mwamba had a bunch of badly placed grafts removed. They sutured up the holes in his temples where the badly placed grafts were, which is sort of interesting. And that's, I guess, to prevent those openings from forming scars, or at least forming large scars. And then he basically did... they did beard hair into the donor area to replenish it.
Can you imagine how many cases are being performed in that clinic every fucking day?
Dozens.
Oh, no.
How many people's lives are potentially going to be destroyed because they're not going to have the ability or the money, the wherewithal to get repaired, or they're going to be too afraid to trust another doctor?
Yeah. Well, this guy had to wait 4 years to finally go with Mwamba, and he himself had his reservations because he wasn't sure that Mwamba was going to be able to do what he said because of his experience with Assoc.
Yeah.
So there
Absolutely.
You go. Yeah. It was really. I mean, the videos are impressive. He did, I think, 4 or 5 videos, and in each one he was calling out the clinic by name. So that was useful, and he also gave his report about the surgery with Mwamba, and Mwamba really worked him hard. He basically he pulled an all-nighter with this kid in order to get the work done.
Kudos to Dr. Mwamba. I hope that the patient turns out great. I really do. Again, never heard of him, never seen him. I wish him all the best. I just hope that Mwamba doesn't wind up being a new target of a video if it doesn't turn out, because if he's upset, and I say this only because a lot of times when a doctor takes on a repair case and that patient's already pissed and distrustful, understandably so, and it doesn't work out in the repair with a new doctor, then that new doctor becomes the next target of that patient's angst, and I get it.
Yeah.
That's why these cases are sometimes difficult.
But I want to say that's a very unique perspective that most people wouldn't understand unless you were in this industry. And I tell doctors this all the time that, excuse me, guys. You can repair this guy, and he should, but you might want to consider not being involved in any public, videos or anything like that, in case things don't go the way you would hope them to be. And I advise.
Well, I don't necessarily know that.
Yeah, I advise physicians that all the time, because repairs are very tough. And if someone has a lot of angst, or someone has the wherewithal, the time, and willingness to go out there and talk about their last procedure in the manner that this guy is, which I think is incredibly useful, to be honest. I mean, and I think that he certainly has the right to do whatever he wants. But sometimes there are some good people that have been dragged through the mud because they've tried to help people. And it's just unfortunate, and then all of a sudden their reputation is being, mired and fucked up because things didn't work out. And there's some doctors that well, Morty, that have gone through that very same thing. Mm-hmm. One guy in particular, went insane over this doctor trying to repair him, and it was a big deal for him. So anyway, I think that's some interesting inside baseball. This isn't just any patient. This is somebody who put their content up on YouTube, and it got in front of me. I can see it in the chat. It got in front of a few of the other bald truthers that we have in our chat today. So. I think it's important. I think it's a double-edged sword when it comes to physicians treating some patients like this. But I think it's incredibly valuable that this guy took the time to put this information out there to help other people avoid what he went through, because it is insane out there. And it's funny and again, don't send me the comments, people, on Joe's page, and because Joe doesn't send them to me. But I get these people that take snapshots of comments. People who actually believe that they have it all figured out, trust me, you don't. You have no clue what's really happening behind the scenes. And if you did luck out and make the right choices and did your due diligence outside of our sphere, that's great. But most people don't. That's why everyone's so fucked up.
And I want to say, Mike Pedroza in the chat room, he goes, I don't agree, Spence. People need to know that there's hope to get repaired. I agree 100%.
Yes.
But the difficulty with starting to document your journey as it's happening, no one knows what the final outcome is going to be.
Right.
It's the same thing as these idiots that go to the cheapest clinics that they can find in Turkey, and they walk out of the door. They walk out of the OR. They've got their little headband on with the clinic name, and then the doctor comes out, or the clinic owner or patient coordinator comes out.
You're clipping, dude. You got to step away from your mic a little bit.
Okay, how's that? Check 1 2. Check,
Much better.
Check. Okay, and then their handler, the doctor, or the patient coordinator comes out, and they lean in together and they do the pointing at each other for some fucking reason, I have no idea why, and smile. You don't know what that patient's going to look like. He doesn't know what he's going to look like. So these cases where they're documenting their experience in real time, I get it. I did that myself. But no one knows what the outcome's going to be.
And I think
the whole point of this is that when someone has been already, just dragging their former clinic through the mud, rightfully so. I'm not saying that he did anything bad there. And then he goes to this doctor that's going to be his quote-unquote savior. That doctor's taking a risk because you've seen what the guy's done unhappy with his previous clinic. What's he going to do if he's unhappy with this?
Well, and the point is, I think Mike Pedroza may have misinterpreted what I was saying. I agree with you, Mike. I think it's absolutely necessary. People do need hope. 100%, and I think it's invaluable for this guy to go out and put his information out there, let people know what he went through. But it's also possible that if things don't go well, that some guys may even lose more hope. Like, wait a second, he went to this great doctor, it didn't work out. What the fuck? Now I have no hope. So people just have to look at everything that's out there with understand the perspective that it's coming from. And understand that, okay, just because he chose this doctor, who's a great doctor, by the way, it doesn't mean you want to jump into getting your repair work right away until you see this guy's results at the end. That's all. That's a big part of it, too. Yep. Right, Morty?
Absolutely. I mean, look, as a hair transplant patient myself, it took 2 years and 6 different doctors to finally decide where I wanted to go. And you can't do this, you can't do this casually. I mean, that was one of the things that was useful about his videos. He talked about the whole process. He talked about, finding Anthony Tarkan on Instagram. He talked about, WhatsApping with the patient coordinator. He talked about flying in and
that shit's invaluable. I mean, that's invaluable stuff. You know, to let people, we talk about that all the time, but for someone to actually come out who, and he probably saw an influencer or, possibly, or like you said, maybe he just saw them, through his Instagram feed. But most of the stuff that you see out there when they're talking about their travel and their WhatsApp and all that stuff, it's all positive until it's not. So it's actually really cool that this guy came out after the fact.
Yeah, and then he talked about, afterwards he tried reaching out to the clinic to try to get, to try to get some information about what was happening when he started seeing that.
Good luck.
Exactly. And in the end, he was met after the first 3 or 4 months. They're like patience, and then by month 6 or 7, they stopped returning his calls.
Yeah.
So that's another really useful thing to know is that that's what can happen. So I hope and pray that he turns out well. I know that Dr. Mwama, I'm sure he did a fantastic job. He did a best effort, which is all you can really expect from anyone. But we all know that after that, it's up to your body and it's up to fate to see how things are going to turn out. But yeah. Anyway.
Well, I think that like I said, it's great that he's doing this for his own situation. My concern, not about him, but about people that do this kind of thing, is that they venture out and start talking about other clinics that they've not been to, and start to bring that kind of approach towards other clinics that they don't have direct experience with, and they start repeating things that they read on different platforms. That's where I think the line should be drawn, only because it's a hearsay issue, and no one knows the truth about some of these cases from other clinics because they weren't there. And I think that's crossing a line. And it's dangerous for all parties involved, because it could be maligning a clinic unnecessarily because they don't know the whole story. They could be setting themselves up for problems because of that. And there's a whole list of issues that I get concerned when I hear about this stuff, because hopefully people aren't going to be putting something out there about all kinds of clinics that they have no experience with. I think that's a distinction that needs to be made when people are doing this kind of thing. But he's doing this with his clinic that he went to. That's awesome. So good for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. The other thing that I wanted to mention is I've been seeing you on Hair Loss Conquerors, Joe, and I'm loving all of the help you're giving all these people, giving of your time to give people advice on Hair Loss Conquerors Facebook group. Very cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I gotta thank Mr. Rolandis for making me aware of this. I think it was Mr. Rolandis that made me aware of it, but he's also a huge contributor on there. And what I like about this Facebook group is it's refreshing for, I was telling Spencer this a couple of days ago, it's refreshing for 2 reasons. Number one, the general knowledge that a lot, not all, but a lot of the members have is higher than the average patient that's on some sort of social media platform doing the research. That's refreshing. The other refreshing thing is there's no bullshit. There aren't people, throwing knives and daggers at other members because they disagree with them on something. Like, everyone gets along, for the most part, and everyone's supportive of each other, and that's refreshing.
So you're telling me there's actually civil discourse happening on the internet?
Yes.
That's awesome.
There is.
Amazing. It's amazingly the case. Absolutely.
Well, I would say this, and this is not for nothing. If Mr. Rolandis is involved in any capacity, even if he's even just posting, then it's going to be a positive place. Yeah. That's how I feel about it. This kid is doing a really good job.
And let me just just add on top of that. And he said so in the chat room, and he's reminding me. I know. He's actually been in the group for the past 2 years, and he told me the other day he's been working hard to kind of help bring up the general level of knowledge. So well done. Good job, Mr. Rolandis.
Mm-hmm. I already said something nice about him. I'm just kidding. He's a great kid. He's doing really good work.
No question about it.
What was that?
Yeah. I said Mr. Rolandis is a good guy. There's no question about it. Love him.
Well,
anyway,
there's very few out there. Come on, Morty. Can we take another call? Go ahead.
one last thing, and then I'm off. And it's this thing which has been going around this past week. It's called S-Cube-3. I don't know if you guys had heard about it. It's this new thing that they've been talking about. It's some sort of signaling molecule. There's some big talk. I know you guys don't typically talk about future stuff, but I know they kill us.
I have an interview with somebody, I forgot from where, that they contact me through the American Hairloss Association. They have to do it after the show for a local something here in Los Angeles. This is how I feel about it. It's great that they have found this possible pathway. This I guess it's a protein, right? The signal to kind of send into motion the growth cycle of hair. Yep. And I know that so far it's worked really well on mice. And I'm not saying that, and it's worked in human hair on mice. I'm not saying that's not going to work, but by the time it comes to fruition, it could take a very long time. It really depends on who decides to focus their efforts behind it. Now, I was lucky enough to be in a position back when I was writing the original The Bald Truth back in 96 and 97 to, when Angela Cristiano found the first gene linked to hair loss, the hairless gene. It was huge news. And then I got her in the book, and we were able to talk about it. I met her, and we became friends over the years, and she actually wrote the foreword for my second book, The Truth About Women's Hair Loss. We're still talking about hair transplants. And, and all the other shit that we're dealing with. So I'm not saying that this isn't great news. I'm just saying we have no idea where it's going to go from here. And that's exactly what I'm going to be telling this reporter when I speak to him later today.
Fantastic. All right, man. Well, I'm going to let you guys go. You guys are the best, and the phone system works great.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Maury.
Thanks for testing it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Phone number is 888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from? Hey, caller.
This is David.
Hey, David. Where are you calling from? Yes.
Calling from Vancouver, Washington.
Well, welcome, man.
Right on, man. Just across the river from Portland. Nice area.
Yeah, cesspool, Portland, Oregon. I'm going to get off the speakerphone here. That place is hell. I was just going to ask you. You've probably been asked this a number of times. I'm thinking of doing a series of PRP treatments. What do you guys actually think of it? I listened to your show.
Where are you getting the PRP from? What does the series entail? Is it like someone trying to sell you a package of 2 or 3 PRP treatments?
It's a hair transplant doctor in Portland, and the details of it I don't know exactly, how it's made up exactly, but he's a hair transplant doctor. And
who's the doctor?
Oh, God. I got it on my phone here, but it's going to be too hard to look up. I don't think it's anyone you ever heard of.
Okay. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
PRP treatment.
PRP is the biggest money grab in cosmetics right now, and it's the biggest money grab in hair, period.
Yeah.
And we talk about this, and I've been talking about this for a decade. Not all PRP is created equal, and the majority of practitioners, physicians, med spas, RNs, whoever's providing PRP treatment, they don't know what the fuck they're doing or injecting into your scalp. They may not even be re-injecting true platelet-rich plasma. They can end up manufacturing or producing, because it's basically user-dependent, platelet-poor plasma. And there's only a couple of ways to really test that, and most people don't have the diagnostic tools, and also not buying the right kits to really make PRP, at least effective PRP. So that's one. Mm-hmm. So when you go to somebody, you have to ask them, what kind of kit are you using? Are you using an FDA-approved kit or cleared kit or not? How are you measuring the platelets? How are you measuring the growth factors? If they can't answer those questions, move on.
Okay.
Good point. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Joseph.
You're welcome, Spencer.
Yeah. I've been doing ProScar for, 20 years. I chop up a 5 milligram tablet. I get up next to my chair here, and I take it intermittently, like once every couple days or once or 3 times a week. I would mix it up, and that's all I've been doing because minoxidil burned the shit out of my scalp.
Now, when you say you mix it up, you've been taking it orally, you cut it up, or you actually okay. So
the ProScar tablet.
Where are you at this point in your hair loss? Have you noticed that you've continued to progress, or is it a slow progression?
You know, it's difficult to tell. I mean, I remember when I was 15, I got some comments from kids in school. I started early, but I mean, I have a bald spot on the. Yeah, but honestly, I look at pictures on Facebook of people I went to school with. I got 10 times more hair than them, so
yeah.
Really, seriously, man, I'm surprised.
Well,
I thought I was going to be really bald, but it's hung in there to this certain pattern where on my vertex it's a bald spot. There's some hair in it, and I get the widow's peaks. But I mean, if you look at me, my pattern is not too much worse. I think Spencer has a great head of hair. Actually, it's a little worse than Spencer's. But
so wait a second. I have a great head of hair, but it's a little worse than Spencer's. When you say worse than Spencer's, that means Spencer's is not great.
No,
I'm fucking with you. Dude, I know exactly
what I'm seeing on the screen looks pretty good actually, and I would say I have a little bit more loss from the angle I always see you at from the front.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this: that if I pull up this flap right here, you'll be mortified.
Oh, I'm not looking at my
mortified.
The flap.
Just like I am. But look, I'm probably. You said you started at 15, so you're what, 35 now?
No, I'm 61 now, and
wait a second.
Wow.
So you've only been on the drug for 20 years?
Yeah, I remember Hairman 96 Days back. That's when I first started paying attention to it, and I tried different stuff.
Holy shit, you've been around forever, man.
Yeah, I know.
That freaks me out. So, all right, so you started later, and you were still able to maintain that much hair all these years. That's great.
Yeah, I mean,
you're fucking welcome, dude.
I have different ways of measuring it with my fingers, and I'll look at my forehead, and I would say it hasn't really like progressed too bad, you know. So
that's great, man. And you're 61, and you have that much hair. Yeah. That's amazing. Usually, I mean, you know the reality. When someone starts at 15, they're usually a full-blown norward, never coming back by the time they're 22, 23.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very grateful for that. And I was going to ask them a question before I go here.
Yeah,
about
sure, man.
future.
Sure. Go ahead.
Dude, Hairman 96. I mean, you could stay on for an hour if you want.
Well, it's the same thing that last caller said. The future, it's extremely frustrating. You know, it seems like a hair follicle is just a piece of tissue, right? I mean, they should have figured out something by now I mean, it's so frustrating.
Well, it seems like it's just a piece of tissue, but it's actually a very elegant and unique regenerative organ, an organ that regenerates itself constantly, you know? So, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, how do you manufacture that and make it work? It's tough.
Yeah.
It's a really fucked up puzzle that they're trying to solve. Now, this is pretty cool that they'd be able to find a protein that can actually switch dormant hair follicles on. You know, and that's pretty amazing. I mean, that's essentially gene therapy. So, if in fact...
Is that what that last guy talked about, you're talking about?
Yeah.
That last molecule, yeah.
Yeah, if in fact they're able to continue their research, if they continue to get funding, and if it's something that, you know, maybe a private company will get behind, we may see it sooner rather than later. But if not, then, you know, these guys could just be like, you know, hustling for grants for the next 20 years. And that's what usually happens in the world of academia when it comes to this type of research. That's what they're doing. They get the press releases just so they could hustle grants and continue to keep their labs going.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's like that one place. I actually bought stock in this place. What's its name? It starts with an R. Regen.
Oh, the place the Canadian company.
Replicel.
Replicel. Yeah.
Oh, Replicel. Yeah.
That place, man, I actually bought stock in that place. It was really low, and I go, "What the hell? I didn't spend that much." But
look, I had access to them. We had them on the program. You know, they used to post on Bald Truth Talk forum until the users fucked that up, and now I don't have any of that shit about future stuff on there, and I wouldn't invest in it. You know, all these companies come to me. I mean, I was offered stock. Now the company was acquired in the robot company, and a lot of it to consult for them. I'm like, you know what? No, it's cool. I'll take the cash. Yeah. That's how I felt about it. If I really believed that there were companies out there, people who were smart enough to take this over the finish line, then sure, I would go for the long game. But in general, they fucking fumble, man.
Yeah,
So,
I think what you said about them getting grants and just keeping themselves alive and paying themselves off, in the process is probably all right. Yeah,
it's like homelessness. It's like It's like homelessness here in Los Angeles. There are people who are being paid by the government $250,000 a year to deal with the homeless crisis. If they actually fixed it, they're not making any more money. It's next. It's over. I'm the only schmuck who wants the hair loss to end, I think, in the industry.
Yeah.
So, all right, man.
Yeah,
well, listen.
And it's for perfectly selfish reasons too.
Are you still doing ProScar?
I am. I am. I just took a pill 2 days ago or 3 days ago.
So you take one full 5 milligram every.
I've taken every fifth day now.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll start doing it that way because I've been chopping them up in half.
If you're not getting worse, don't fuck with your routine.
Yeah. That's good. All right, man. I'll let you guys go.
Good luck. Thank you so much for the call, and thanks for being a fan.
Man.
Thanks for being a fan for so long.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Thanks, Spencer.
Bye-bye. Phone number is 888-659-3727. I don't mean to be a pessimist.
Well, we know you're not really a pessimist. You're just because you have the cure. You're just holding it back.
Look at me.
I know, right?
Let's take a call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Bill from D.C. How are you?
Hey, Bill. What's happening?
Hey, Bill.
Not much. I've called in a few times, and I won't go too much into the backstory, but I've been looking at hair transplants for over 10 years. I've seen Dr. Cooley in North Carolina and Dr. Lindsay here in D.C., and I recently saw Dr. Bernstein in New York, and I had kind of decided that I was probably going to go with Dr. Bernstein. He's super expensive, but
how much is he charging now?
I think he told me I was $2,500, and it was about $20,000. 2,500 grafts.
Well, that sounded so painful when you said that. Like you
really
had this little
$20,000.
And I'm sure I'll need it at some point. So I'll be in the hole for a Mercedes by the time I'm done. But
now, what's making out of and you went to a few good doctors. What's making you choose Dr. B?
Because I want to go super conservative, and he seems to be someone that a lot of his hairlines are very, very conservative, kind of far back, and
appropriate, as he would say.
Yeah.
But the thing that has told me, because the Propecia and I'm on Avodart now, neither one is working very well, if at all. So my hair loss is going to continue, and kind of what has held me back is, I think while a hair transplant might be good for several years, eventually, if the hair keeps thinning, it's going to be, more difficult to make it look natural and whatever. And
well, how old are you now?
So, but I am 52.
Okay, so you're 52, and again with a sigh, he's 52, and he goes, "Ugh, that's not old, dude. You're still a young man."
So I kind of decided I was going to do it, and it's almost like this weird sign from a higher power or something. I'm up late at night. I come across this infomercial with Mike Huckabee selling some thing. I was going to ask you guys if you might be willing to look at it on YouTube. And what is going on with his hair right now is exactly what I'm afraid is going to be my hair in like 20 years.
Well, first of all, you just let the world know that you watch Fox News.
No, I don't.
And,
this was like on some...
No,
no, I do not watch it. I think it was on TV Land.
There's nothing wrong with what. You see how people get defensive when I say that? I'm just fucking around. Nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing. He has a significantly, typical pattern for a man his age, and he's been able to save a lot of hair in the front that he can kind of comb over and comb back a little bit. But he has a very low donor wreath. And he's also lost his parietal humps. So there's that kind of separation. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, that could happen to you.
Yeah.
But you're 52. So how are you right now?
I have to pull up the Norwood scale to see. But
fuck the Norwood scale.
My father passed at 8.
That's old, that's old news. But what do you think? As far as do you think the 2,500 grafts is going to make a big difference in your appearance?
For now, yeah. But I think if my hair loss keeps progressing, I'm going to look like Mike Huckabee in 15 years.
Now, how's another painful side? And how's your progression right now? You said you're on Avodart. Is it slowly progressing, or do you feel like you've been able to maintain for a while?
I don't think it's helping very much at all. It's definitely I started noticing hair loss like probably about after 35, and it is just been slowly progressing over the past.
Now, what did Dr. Bernstein say about your experience with medication and what he thought about as far as your progression is concerned?
He thought that medication might be helping, and he also recommended that I start taking oral minoxidil.
How do you feel about that?
Consider that. I would give it a shot and see how it goes.
Well, there's a lot of talk about it online. Since we did Global Hair Loss Summit 2 years ago, it was really introduced into the more the mainstream hair transplant vernacular. So most doctors now are prescribing it, and they're pretty free with prescribing, and they feel good about it. There are some who don't. But, anytime you add anything to your regimen, you can possibly lose some ground. Or, in this case, I know a lot of people who do add minoxidil, and they do great with it. So it's all a consideration. But you're right to be concerned about the possibility of things not being great 10 years down the road, because that's a reality that most people who are going into this surgery don't consider.
No, if you look at someone like his hairline, where it is now, does he have any? Can he do a little more work to make it look a little bit better, or is he just kind of out of donor hair at this point?
Huckabee?
Yeah.
I haven't examined him closely, but I am sure. I'm sure he can get a procedure out of that guy.
Let me ask you, who are you talking about again? You say Mike Huckabee, the former governor of Alabama, or
Arkansas?
Because I just looked, Arkansas.
I just saw a late night infomercial supplement or something.
Yeah, because I'm looking at pictures of him, and he's not bald. Like he's got.
If you get a side shot of him, he's pretty bald.
Yeah, his frontal hairline is pretty good.
Okay.
If you go on YouTube and just do Mike Huckabee Relaxium, you'll see it. And once he turns the head, that's when you're...
Yeah, he's hawking Relaxium sleep.
Because the frontal is still pretty good.
Oh, okay, I see what you're talking here. Yeah, this is different.
No, Mike Huckabee's got to be 70 years old now.
He's 66.
At least.
Yeah.
He's what? How old is he?
66.
Wow, he's a hurting 66.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
But so is that what he's got going on? Do you think he could kind of repair that a little bit at least if he wanted to?
Now is this Mike Huckabee?
Right. He's sitting next to
Yeah.
Come on, Mike.
That's good. Come on, Mike Huckabee.
Well, you know that you're the guy that you call Paul McCartney was on his show one time.
What was that?
The guy that you call Paul McCartney, the one that's had the hair transplants that also sings.
Oh, we call him Paul McCartney?
You have in the past. I can't remember his name. He has his own YouTube channel.
And he was on the Mike Huckabee show?
Yeah, it wasn't about hair transplants, though. It was about music or something.
Oh, shit. That's interesting. I know Mike Huckabee he plays the bass. All right, so let's take a look at some images of this guy.
I'm looking at the video. I don't see the back at all. I just see the front.
I am sure that you can get that there's some doctors out there that get at least one pass on this guy. So can he be improved? Yes. Is it of any value to Mr. Huckabee, or who I think lost hundreds of pounds and he's already 66? I don't know if he would go for surgery. But I'm pretty sure a guy like that can have some work done and have a fuller looking head of hair.
Yeah,
and if you get to a point like that where...
I'm not seeing anything about this. Like I don't see anything online of images of the back of the scalp or the sides. Everything's from the front. Everything's from
All right, let's look at Mike Huckabee relaxing him sleeve. I'm going to do this for the guy. So I know this is Mike. Actually, you sound a little like him. Let's see.
So if you get to a point where the transplant just isn't looking good anymore, and you just decide to shave it or buzz it off, I know you're going to have the scar in the back, but what does the recipient area look like if you just kind of buzz it off?
First of all, are you having a strip surgery with Dr. Bernstein?
Yeah, everyone I've seen has recommended a strip.
Yeah. It depends. The recipient area could look good. I think if you're going to Bob Bernstein, you're most likely not going to have any cobblestoning or compression. If you look at a guy like Joe Rogan, who I'm assuming had a couple of strips, if you look at him from the front, it doesn't look like there was any, issues or any defects when it comes to, the top of his scalp or the recipient area. So that's a possibility for sure. I'm looking at here, Joe. You want me to send you this picture of Mike Huckabee?
Sure.
Yeah, he's got plenty. Sure. He's got plenty of donor. I mean, I don't know. I'm not looking at it with a dermatoscope, but there you go, Joe. Joe's an expert.
Mm-hmm. Joe's an expert. Okay. All right. It's kind of hard to see. Like that's
the best I can do, man.
Get that focused in. Let me switch cameras. Let's try this. Is that focused? Looks like it is. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like he's got plenty of donor. Like, I just don't know how dense the donor region is due to maybe senile alopecia or something, but yeah. I see the parietal
so he could
come
kind
down
of...
and yeah, there's no reason he couldn't get like the frontal third kind of filled in a little bit and deal with that. But he certainly doesn't have enough to do a front to back recreation because it does look like it drops pretty far down in the back and on the sides here. But there's enough to do the front a little bit.
For sure.
Yeah, even if
you
could
want
just
to
make it.
So you feeling better, Mike, now a little bit?
As long as there's a way to just kind of join the donor region with the recipient region a little bit more, so it's not so separate, and just so it looks at least a little bit now. Even if you look like you're balding, at least it doesn't look like you've got a chunk of transplanted hair on the top, and then base, and then your donor hair.
Well, I mean that's sadly you see that a lot, especially with old school transplants. Normally, and again, Dr. Bernstein does plan things in a really appropriate fashion. If your hairline is placed high enough and it's brought down, potentially the temporal points are recreated to some degree, you're not going to have that separation if you continue to bald. And if you do, it's going to be something that's going to be pretty repairable. But I don't think in today's hair transplant world, you just don't see a lot of that. Joe, you want to correct me if I'm wrong?
I didn't hear what you just said.
Okay, well then you can't correct me.
You're wrong.
Yeah. But listen, Mr. Huckabee, it's an honor.
Yes, thank you for calling us, Governor.
He's sitting next to me. I'll give him the advice.
Okay.
Good.
Listen,
Well,
but don't jump in. Listen, don't just because you had the consult, just because you think you're ready, you still have time. You don't have to have surgery, man.
Yeah.
You know,
well, yeah. Yeah.
if you're not completely miserable, then there's always time.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, man.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Good luck. All right. Thanks for the call.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
calling.
Mike Huckabee, ladies and gentlemen.
Mike Huckabee. Did he say that he's been on Proscar or Propecia for a while? The last caller?
The last caller is on dutasteride. He doesn't think that it's doing much for him. And
how long was he on it?
I forgot to ask him.
Yeah. Okay. And that's the thing. Like his worry about the future, that's completely logical. I get it, but I highly doubt that Mike Huckabee, who he's afraid of looking like in 10 years, is on any sort of DHT inhibition, finasteride, dutasteride, anything like. I highly doubt it.
You don't think a guy like that has prostate issues? Come on.
Well, that was my next self correction. It's like, well, maybe he is on for prostate issues, but who knows?
Look at the guy.
Who knows? Yeah. Didn't look so good in that pick. He's gained some of that weight back that he lost.
Smart dude, but it's all about discipline, yo.
That's right.
Guys, the phone number is 888-659-3727. We have our lines open if you want to give us a call. And if you don't, I'm just going to go. Call it a night. I can leave. I can just walk and you leave the camera on you, and you can talk to your friends.
Yes, because there's so many. I have so many friends.
You do have a lot. People love you, man. People love you, except for your haters, but they love you.
So let's answer a question from the chat room while people get up the.
And guys, we'll take your calls in a second.
Gumption to call.
They're calling, but you can take a question.
The Walrus was Jason asks, Joe, is FUT still the gold standard? Wow, I haven't heard that question in a long time. It's no longer the gold standard, and here's why. And you got to look at what the gold standard is in anything. It's a thing that everyone compares, any subsequent development to as a baseline. No one does strip anymore. I can count on my hand five clinics that do strip, and even then I'd struggle. There's probably more. It's just I'm talking about good clinics that do strip. Everyone's doing FUE. Victor Hassan, Dr. Hassan, the most anti-FUE doctor on the planet up until about 7 years ago, publicly said that no one's asking him for a strip anymore, and that's what he was known for.
And you were pretty publicly anti-FUE for quite a long time.
Oh yeah, I saw the light much sooner than he did. But I know there's probably I know Dr. Feller was saying that for a long time. It's the gold standard long after it stopped being the gold standard. But you have to look at the percentages of the number of clinics doing FUE versus FUT. And the thing is, actually scratch that. Just look at the fact that no one's comparing FUE to FUT anymore. The results have spoken. And I remember Dr. Feller would say this. I remember that even Dr. Hassan, Dr. Wong would say this. And I used to say this. Where are the results? And it's embarrassing to say that now, but 15 years ago, I was still saying, where are the results to compare FUE to FUT? Because there weren't a lot of good results. There weren't even a lot of results because a lot of cases were having bad growth. Today, where are the results of strip? No one's doing it anymore because FUE is like it's just, you can do great FUE.
But I'm going to say something that's very contradictory to all of this.
Just as good.
I think that, now we're at a point where FUE looks just as good as strip. They understand how to refine the grafts. They've developed the technique to a point where they are all but eliminated transection. I mean, it still exists. So they're able to get robust grafts out of the scalp and in a expeditious fashion without struggling like they used to do. They have the right tools and, all that happy horse shit. But the reality is you have to go outside of what is recognized as the safest part of the donor in order to move as many grafts as you would with a couple of strips. And that seems to be taken out of the equation. So when doctors who were hardcore strip guys are now saying, in my view, that strip is no longer state of the art, part of it is, I think, economic pressure and the fact that nobody fucking wants a strip anymore. I'm just saying, Joe.
Not pressure, but benefit.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it ends up being benefit, but it's economic pressure. If they're just sitting there saying, all we do is strip, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not going to be open for very long.
Yeah, so that's the truth. So when people ask me if strip is still viable, if it's still an important procedure, if your clinic should be offering it, or if they don't offer it, do they work closely with a clinic or a physician who does? I'm like, you have to have access to this type of surgery if you really want to get, especially if you're a high Norwood. You just do. And without it, you'll never be able to meet your expectations. And frankly, you're going to end up losing, if there are, 8,000 grafts moved via FUE, you're going to end up losing some of those grafts over time. You could lose half of them. Especially
if
you're...
fair, people are losing grafts after multiple FUEs as well.
Yes, they are.
In fact, I mean, only because we've learned that the donor region is not entirely resistant to DHT.
That's very common,
even in the traditional strip donor area. But I think that I agree with Spencer. To maximize for advanced Norwoods, especially, strip is the taking the scarring potential out of the way. It is the preferred method to get the max number of grafts. The caveat is the fact that you can't predict the scarring. You don't know if it's going to, even if the first and second strips are great as far as the resulting donor scar, you just never know when that donor scar is going to widen after each subsequent procedure.
Right.
I'm walking proof of advanced Norwoods benefiting from strip to get the maximum number of grafts. I've had 11,000 grafts, people. I couldn't get that with FUE.
No.
Not even close, because my donor region was not very good.
And that's why I think having the ability to have a hybrid is so important. And when that's eliminated from someone's, arsenal, I think it's a shame. Yeah. And, there several years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and this is not to be obnoxious, but I think a lot of people don't understand the history of FUE. And I was the proponent of FUE and but introduced it to North America, period. And everyone was resistant. But for years, there were people who were out there on the interwebs saying that I didn't want to see FUE evolve because then I would stop making so many millions of dollars off of these strip butchers. Remember those days?
Yes, I do. I remember those days very well.
Well, what's interesting is I still have the same sentiment. And every one of the doctors that I work with offers mostly FUE.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's changed in my book. I believe that FUE was an incredible ancillary procedure initially until people were able to figure it out. I believe it's a great procedure today. But when people say that FUE or DHI FUE is state-of-the-art, that's fucking horse shit. These procedures have been around for 20 years.
I actually shot a video. I haven't had time to edit it yet, but there's a YouTuber. He's got 1 million subscribers, and he had a hair transplant recently. And he's talking about how he had a a mix of FUE and DHI.
Yeah.
And I had fun with this one, guys. It'll be a fun one.
So does that mean that? So at one point, technicians were placing grafts using forceps, and then all of a sudden the doctor came in and said, "Let's use those Troy implanters for a little bit."
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good.
I don't know.
That would be good.
I'm asking, is that the case? I have no fucking.
No, he doesn't go into it. He just talks about how DHI was done in part of the hairline area, and FUE was done in another part, and FUE was done at the back. And he's like, and then he goes on to say, it's not like the transplant that your father or grandfather had, where they take out the strip, because that one didn't work very well most of the time. And I'm like, huh? This guy.
You know what's first of all, the beauty of our culture in general is that, people can come out of the fucking woodwork and all of a sudden catapult themselves into, credibility in some cases. And no one fucking knows the difference. No one gives a fuck. And then there are people like us who come out, tell the truth, and you get bitched at, Joe.
I know. Sorry. The truth hurts.
Let's take a phone call. Hey, you're on the air.
Guys.
Who's this? Hello.
Hey, my name is James. I'm out of Delaware.
James from Delaware. What's up, man?
Hey, I love you guys' show, man, and thank you. You guys have informed me thoroughly. I, had a FUT in 2017, and at the time I didn't have any knowledge of the hair transplant procedure. I actually, how it came about was I was sitting on the couch one late night, and I saw one of those hair transplant, I think it was like Bosley.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I looked in the mirror and I said, I'm going to do that, with this expectation of, on the commercial, you see these guys with this great set of hair and locks flowing. And so long story short, I go out of Florida, did a little research, thumbed through the internet, found a reasonable doctor, and found out that Florida was like the place to be, for these procedures. And I had no idea what FUE was or even existed. Thought that there was only one procedure. I go, they give me an FUT. Skeptical at first. First year goes by, loved it. Man, I'm telling you, my locks grew. My family couldn't believe it.
How old were you when you had it done?
I was about 39.
Okay.
Yeah, about 39. So I started losing hair, I want to say like 28. About 28. By about 39, I was about a Norwood 5. So,
okay.
So nothing could grow on the crown. So, I go, I get this FUT, loved it. I'm talking, I loved it. After 1 year, the donor area, the hair grew about 1 inch. You don't recognize it, And
Yeah.
to this day, as I'm talking to you guys, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm loving it,
That's great.
I chatted with you guys and got some references to some doctors. I want to get a second procedure, to get some more density. And I was looking at, Reyes out of DR, Cole out of New York, and the Deep out of San Francisco. Those were like, my three that I was, playing around with. But this subject here that you guys brought up, FUE versus FUT in the strip, because I want the strip. I'm sold on the strip. I see these guys with the FUE and they're going to Turkey and they're going here and they're going there, and I'm not impressed. And I'm not bored on FUE. To me, you guys said FUT is the gold standard. In my opinion, it is. And here's the reason why, right? It's like comparing an experienced pro to the new kid on the block. there's no comparison. You know, the hair transplant systems developed from FUT. You know, FUT was born from FUT.
Well, if I'm going to be, if I'm just to really get your history straight, actually, FUT, everything was born from a form of FUE.
Okay.
So essentially, you know, back in the 30s in Japan, they were using, and this information was lost for years because of World War II. They're using different size punches to transplant hair, to move hair from donor area, from body hair, pubic hair, stuff like that. And there were two different doctors. And you can go to I think Joe probably has it on his website, hairtransplantmentor.com. You could also go to the American Hair Loss Association to read the history. But without getting too deep into it, FUE essentially existed. And what happened in the late 1950s, Dr. Norman Ohrenreich decided to kind of reinvent the wheel, reinvent hair transplant surgery. And he chose a larger punch as opposed to the smaller punch. And they were using 1 millimeter punches about in the 1930s. But he chose to use 4 millimeter punches. And that's what created these large punch grafts and these fucked up results. And then...
and destroyed thousands of people.
Thousands. It was, and also destroyed hair transplant surgery as far as it being a serious procedure forever, in my view. It's still, people still think of plugs. With that said, and there were some people who recognized early on, or within a certain amount of time, in the late 80s, in the mid 90s, and then of course in the 2000s, that removing a peninsula of hair from the back of the scalp and then dissecting it under microscopes would end up with a better result and a much more natural result. And I didn't want to go back to punching out grafts in the back of the head. But anyway, that's how everything evolved. And then Ray Woods went back to the old method, but used a very small punch. And he's like, we can do this without leaving a linear scar. So it all kind of evolved together, but it all started with FUE, essentially.
Thanks for the history. Well, in my opinion, I like FUT more. Here's the thing, like, I have Afro curly hair. So, and to me, not only the hair texture, but transection. Nobody is talking about or actually discussing, the transection rates.
No one knows. Everyone lies. If there's a company that's saying, or a clinic that's saying we have a 99% success rate, we have a 1% transaction rate, they don't fucking know. Nobody knows. Right. In this industry, people just make shit up, put it on their website, and it's gold.
Yep.
And that's a great segue to another point that I'm going to make.
Sure.
When I first got my FUT in 2017, I felt fearless, and the reason why I felt fearless is because I didn't know anything. I didn't know about this business. I didn't know about the different procedures. So I went, I got it, and I think that me having lack of knowledge didn't weigh on my perspective and my outlook and the outcome. Now there's
ignorance is bliss.
Listen, there's so much shit on the internet, you can't tell your arms from your elbows anymore. You know what I mean? Your elbows from your knees. Like, I'm scared to go.
Of course.
I really am. I'm scared to go.
Dude, it's paralysis by analysis, right? That's what it is at this point. I couldn't do shit. Do you think that I would have taken ProScar if the internet was in existence when I started? No fucking way, man.
No way.
I would have been bald as a fucking egg.
Right.
Right.
So
God forbid.
I'm listening to you guys. I started, so when I got my procedure, I said, I love this. And the wonderful thing about the doc who did it, he said, hey, listen. He said, we're going to do 25 grafts. You're a 5. This will bring you down to about a 4, maybe a 4.3. He said, but you're going to need more later on because you're going to continue to lose, but this will be the start. And I thought that was so wonderful, I didn't have the information, and that was like a seed planted. This doctor's telling me, hey, look, It's good. It's great. You'll love it. You're going to need more. And now here it is, 5 years later. It's like I want to make a move, and you don't know who to trust.
Well, why don't you go back to the same doctor?
Exactly.
You know what? I thought about that, and I'm thinking about doing that. But the thing is I didn't know about this. The AHSR, the American Hair.
The IHRS, the American Hair Loss Association. Listen, just because someone hasn't applied to the group or it hasn't been, look, we've had over almost 2,500 applicants in 20 years. Most people don't get in. That's just the reality. But your doctor may never have applied. He may be like, fuck Kobren. I'm going to do this without him. And he may be great. Obviously, you had a good result.
Wow.
There's plenty of good doctors who've never applied to the, well, not plenty, but there are good doctors who have not applied to the IHRS. They exist.
Well, we don't even know who this doctor is. He may have.
What's his name?
Who is the doctor?
I don't know the doctor. I know that he's out of Davies, Florida. It was him. He brought another doctor in. I've got to look for his name. It's in my my text. It was, and you know that's the thing. It's like
where in Florida?
Well, a part of me is saying if I find out who this guy is, and you know the internet is dogging his name out, I'm going to be mortified. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're already happy. Well, let me ask you, what part of Florida was he in?
He was in Davies, Florida.
Davies.
Yeah.
Or Davie. There's no S on Davie.
Yeah, Davies, Florida. Yeah, Davies, Florida. Yep. Goodness gracious. Let me see. He was a great doctor. This guy was. He's actually. Look, he sat me down. He said, "Here's my resume." He's an instructor. He teaches on hair loss. And
they all do. Everyone's a fucking pioneer. Everyone's a lecturer, and everyone's an instructor. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
So here's another question I pose to you guys. Right?
Yeah.
I hear everybody talking about FUE and the Artisan and the NeoGraft machine and the Sapphire. I want to do strip, and I wanted to know if there were name brand scalpels, if there was a specific scalpel centimeter or measurement width that I could be checking and see if a doctor should be using an incision technique or something like that. Now I know you guys said FUT is like ancient history now. Nobody wants it. I want it. I love it. I think that it's great. Anybody that asks me, would they get an FUE versus an FUT? I'd say FUT. Just because.
I love this guy.
Well, first of all, you had a great experience, and I'm so happy that you did. And to me, if you had a great experience and your doctor's still alive and has the same staff, that's something to consider. Doesn't matter if he's not a part of the IHRS or the American Hair Loss Association. For whatever reason, he probably didn't want to apply. Who knows? Guy could be cheap, or the guy could have some sort of political, affiliation with, one of the larger organizations. There's a lot of reasons. Doesn't mean he's a bad doctor. You had a good result, so I think that's important that's out there. Now, as far as the tools that doctors are using, like Joe always says, the tool is only as good as the hand that wields it. Now, there are some strategies and some specifics that you need to know about as far as you definitely want the right tool to be used for making recipient sites, and the right tool to be used if you are, removing grafts via FUE. But name brands don't mean shit.
Okay.
There are guys who use cut to size blades. Victor Hassan and Jerry Wong. Was it Victor that created it? Or Victor and Jerry?
No, Jerry. Well, you're talking about lateral slit technique. That was invented by Jerry Wong, refined with Victor's
I'm talking about the handheld blade, the blade cutting machine.
Yeah, well, that was designed by Dr. Hassan, but I think he's talking about the blade for the strip removal. Is that what you're asking about?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the blade.
No, you just want a single blade. You just want a single blade scalpel for that.
Gotcha.
That's the only thing that you need to know is a single blade scalpel. It's usually a number 6 blade. There's no real brand that's going to be incredibly better than the next. They're all super sharp. They're razor blades. So
Okay.
there you go.
Look, my donor scar healed up wonderfully. Listen, it's so thin that you could barely see it. It is noticeable at a really low, like a 0.5 centimeter cut or a 1/4 centimeter cut. But I love it, man. I love it. I let my hair grow, like I said, to a 1. You don't see anything. And there's not enough discussion about this,
there's no discussion about it because it's out of vogue, man.
There used to be.
Yeah.
There used to be.
Yeah, but social
we
media.
used to talk about that a lot more.
But social media and advertising and all of the happy horseshit that goes on and device manufacturers that come out with these devices, it's just out of vogue, and physicians don't even talk about it because they're like, why am I going to waste my time? No one's going to come to me. My practice is going to fucking implode. So we got to do FUE. And let me tell you something. There were some hardcore strip guys that you had to pry that idea out of their fucking cold dead hands before they chose to move to FUE. And the only reason they did it is because nobody was calling anymore.
Wow.
I will repeat to you what a great FUT surgeon told me one day. When it came to offering FUE, he said the day that I have to pick up a punch to make a living is the day I retire.
And he's still working.
And that man's doing FUE today.
And he's one of the biggest proponents.
Wow.
Yeah, and now he's one of the biggest proponents of FUE.
I had a guy
how the times change
in this studio 2 years prior to him coming in. Great guy. Told me that he really believes that FUT is the gold standard. He's sticking to that. 2 years later, he's like, I have seen the fucking light.
Yeah. Poor guy.
And he's like, in my hands, FUE is just as good as FUT, and he explained why. And everyone just followed suit.
His price per graph doubled.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the case, but yeah, I mean, this is the reality of this industry. So anyone who says something is better than the next, especially when it comes to, the reality that I believe in, the only way someone with severe hair loss could benefit for the long term with a hair transplant or hair transplants is to have a hybrid procedure. I'm talking about long term.
Yeah.
That's it. Because, like you could be at a point where you have, and what's your name again?
James.
James, you're a great caller, by the way, and I appreciate you calling more often. Yeah. We need people like you with the enthusiasm and just real talk. There are people out there, and I just lost my train of thought, guys like you may go for your second strip and be thrilled. And then in 10 years, you're going to be like, I need more hair. They're going to be like, you know what? You're stripped out. Then they can go in and move grafts via FUE. And you've had the best of both worlds.
Right. Well, one of the things also that I'm kind of turned off, with FUE is, I was online late night, and they were saying that, with FUE, they can punch from the donor site, from the transplant site, into the non-DHT resistant area. And I'm like, how does that work? How does hair that is, not all hair is going to be DHT resistant, but anything outside of the DHT quote unquote resistant area is less, is going to be more prone.
You saw that on a television commercial?
Say again?
You saw that on TV?
No. Yeah, I was on the internet. I was trolling, these guys that go to Turkey and stuff. And
everyone's full of shit. If anyone said that they can miraculously go into non-DHT resistant areas and that hair is going to be miraculously, growing for the rest of your life, they're lying. Yes, they do go into the less DHT resistant areas. They do go into what's traditionally, not necessarily the safe zone to move those many grafts. And that's why we stated clearly, and I said at the beginning that, eventually those hairs are more likely to miniaturize than hair taken from the sweet spot of a donor area. So
And with that
you're right
being
about
said,
that.
In my opinion, I believe, and I've looked, and I'm still researching, and although, the fear is building up, because now you guys really scared me saying that even the FUT guys are going FUE, but FUT is the only, in my opinion, okay, this is just solely my opinion, is the only technique that can get that sweet spot.
Well, that's exactly right, man. Dude, I'm so glad you called. I'm glad that you had a great experience. We want to hear more guys who've had experiences like yours. And yeah, there is a valid argument for FUT. And I am a guy that still pushes it because I'm with you, my man. You cannot get 100% of that sweet spot ever via FUE. You can get double or triple the amount of grafts, that really, almost DHT resistant. I'm not going to say it's 100% DHT resistant, but you at least have the greatest fighting chance that those hairs that are going to be moved via strip are going to be longer lasting. That's it.
Now, here's the thing, right? I waited 5 years for two reasons. I was researching, knowing that after having my first technique, I was going to have to get another one. But I said 5 years would be good. Not only that, though, I cut my hair down and let it grow back just to see if I was getting lost. And it's still there. It's there,
Oh, dude. First, we're going to take some more calls, man. But you're a great caller. Call in again. Let us know what you decide to do. Yeah, please call back. You're fucking fantastic. And
I love you guys, man. You guys keep doing what you're doing, man, and keep fighting the good fight.
We will, man.
Thank you so much.
I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm just going to keep going. What else do I got to do, right?
All right.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Thanks for calling, buddy.
Okay, bye-bye. CJ.
Bye-bye.
That was a great call. 888-659-3727. And the reality is, he's right.
Yeah.
Young guys don't want to hear that shit.
You gotta, you're going to love this video I'm making about this YouTuber because he was fed so much bullshit about, and he understood nothing that he was told, and he's repeating it on this video, and he sounds foolish. Like I understand he doesn't know any better. God bless him. But there is such a thing as double checking your facts before you go in front of a million people.
And you're right
Just
about
saying.
that. But the truth is, the sad truth is, these people are trusting their physicians, and they think they've done their due diligence, and they may think that what we're discussing is a little archaic.
Yeah,
we're trying to hold on to the past for dear life. Fuck the past. I don't give a shit about the past. I think about what's going on in front of me. I always have. I don't hoard shit. I get rid of everything. You know me, Joe. And that includes ideas. I am not married to my fucking ideas. I never have been. I'm the type of guy who's like, that was fucking stupid. And I'll say it if it was. Because I don't want to continue on my life doing stupid shit if I've been doing stupid shit in the past. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I go to these meetings and I talk to some of these doctors and I'm listening to them. I'm like, you realize you're contradicting yourself, and you're not even saying that you are. Well, no, I mean, I certainly still believe.
Oh no,
in what
I didn't mean
was
it
saying.
that way.
Yeah. I'm like, go fuck yourself.
What's funny is I had when I was in Turkey last month. I was talking to a doctor that I'd never met before, but I'd seen him before, and he's I
got one crazy hair.
He's kind of.
No one told me.
What's
Go
that?
ahead. I got one crazy floating hair. I didn't tack down.
Yeah. But he came up to me and he was talking to me, and we actually there was a group of doctors. It was late night after everything had shut down, and we were getting room service, and we were drinking, and we had a good time in this guy's room. and he was telling me
he did. I bet you had a good
meeting.
time.
See, you had why? Seriously, it's just too easy, man.
I'm basically a 12-year-old.
You really are.
Yeah.
So he was telling me about a different meeting he had been to previously in the same month or in the previous month in a different part of the world that was put on in conjunction with I'll go ahead and say with ISHRS, and he was saying that all the information. Actually, two doctors told me this. All the information they were talking about was mainly about FUT and its superiority, and the discussions about FUE were in the hallways. And he was blown away by how archaic the discussions were, because they were latched onto the same thing that's been repeated ad nauseum for the past 30 years.
Yeah, well, these guys don't want to. They don't want to change because they're just like
no.
They don't want to change the infrastructure of their practices. They don't want to admit that this is a great option. You have to be able to offer both.
Yeah.
And not just we're going to hire a bunch of technicians and a machine, and then we're basically going to, do a bait and switch. And when you come in, we're going to try to sell you a strip. You want them to understand, you want physicians and consumers to understand that these two options exist. Any decent clinic is going to probably offer both options. Or if they don't offer strip because they're newer, they're going to know when to inform a patient that they're going to make a better candidate for strip. And that's fucking rare.
Yeah.
Do you want to take a phone call? What time is it? Where are we?
Let's do it. 4:53. We got time.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Hey, caller. Can you hear us?
Hi, this is Manu from Germany again.
Hey, what's happening, man?
Glad you can hear me. I called in 2 weeks ago, and I'd like to rectify my call in.
Okay, what'd you do? Did you fuck up? Did you say something fucked up? I don't remember.
No, not really. But I was pretty much out of it and talking in slow motion. I couldn't form proper sentences.
I do that every week. Don't worry about it.
I want to apologize to Spencer Stevenson for pointing out his sleepiness at the microphone, even when I was dead tired myself. So.
Oh, that's very kind of you. I don't think he even remembers you saying that because he was fucking drunk.
Yeah, probably not.
I'm just kidding.
He was hammered.
But that's, you know what? I appreciate someone who is as thoughtful as you. Most people don't give a fuck. So
when people man up like that, that's admirable.
I'm sure Spencer appreciates it too. So thank you.
Well, that shouldn't have been my first call. But anyway, since I was talking in slow motion 2 weeks ago, I didn't get to ask any questions. So I would like to come back to that.
Sure, but you're going to have to speed it up.
This is part 2. Yeah.
I was the one who had 1,700 grafts moved 5 years ago, and I withheld the most important piece of information. Back then, I was 20 years old and the Norwood 2.5.
I remember that, yeah.
Now that those grafts have been removed via electrolysis, I'm in Norwood 3, I would say. Classic Norwood 3.
Hold on for a second. Joe's having problems with his headset again. I don't know what it is, but he always looks at me like it's my fault.
Yeah, I heard nothing what was just said. My earbuds were exploding in my ears again. Sorry, caller. I didn't hear what you were just saying.
He was a young man.
You had 1,700 grafts 5 years ago.
He was 20 years old when he had his first hair transplant. 2,500 grafts.
Yeah, that's right.
Now?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Now I'm at Norwood 3 level.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mention that.
What Norwood level were you when you had the surgery?
About 2.5, between 2 and 3.
Okay. That's a lot of grafts. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, last year I was visiting Hattingen Hair and had a consultation with Dr. Morisano. His wife was in surgery that day. And the main reason was to ask him about how much I have left in my donor after this botched hair transplant.
And what do you say?
So I still have about 2,500 left via strip, via FUT, and I think about 3,000 when he would do an FUE. However, that's only for the first FUT strip, and I have an average donor laxity. So he really calmed me down, because my main issue was actually psychological, because I thought maybe this is it for me. Maybe I can never have a hair transplant again. But he assessed the situation and
so he gave you a little solace. You have a little sense of relief now that you're not tapped out, and you can actually have more hair.
Yeah, I can still have a proper repair surgery.
I'm really happy to hear that. And you know what? You went to somebody who really knows what they're talking about, who's really super honest too.
Yeah, and he explained basically to me the exact same thing that he explained in a new video on Joe's YouTube channel a few weeks back. He was showing the Alvi Armani chart. I'm basically not on a level of hair loss that he would deem it necessary to do surgery on me. So he said right now he wouldn't touch me. He wouldn't move a single graft. And
what did you think? Because you said that you were botched. I mean, what did you think about your current hair transplant situation, or the results of your last hair transplant?
There's no real results, because almost everything was removed. He said I showed him some photos from when I still had those bad grafts. He said it was a ridiculously bad job. I had to agree. And,
yeah, well, he doesn't mince words, that dude. I'll tell you that.
And he doesn't. I remember you saying you actually had them removed. Was it through laser, or were they punched out? I forgot that part.
They were removed via electrolysis, so neither.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did
you tell us the clinic?
He just
that did this?
You went to Turkey, right?
I already told you. It's Cohair in Germany.
Oh, you went to a German clinic. That is right.
Yes. Right.
Okay.
He just said he could try to level out the damage in the donor area just by.
Tell you, they make good cars, but hair transplants, I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
They used to with Mosier. They were good.
Yeah. Trying to make a joke there. Yeah. Though. Anyway,
I know.
So, all right. So, you sadly were taken advantage of. You were vulnerable at the age of 20. You were probably not a candidate for surgery, and you ended up having surgery that was not ideal.
Yeah.
And I know that it must really, have fucked you up, that you've wasted some donor, and that you kind of went away. That you're basically sitting there with nothing now. But here's the good news. Your recipient area must be pretty good. It looks like nothing was done, right?
Not really.
Oh, no? So tell me about, so what does the scalp look like in the recipient area?
The hair is gone, but there's still visible scar tissue. You can see some white dots from where the scars resurfaced white.
Okay. And what? So what did a server say? What did your last consultation? How did he react to your scarring? Did he say that it was minimal? Did he say that it was something that he thought was very apparent, or is it something that you just focus on?
And he said it wasn't really a problem that has to be addressed right now.
Okay.
We were mainly talking about the donor area, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, what can we do for you now? Do you have any specific questions that you need answered right now? Go ahead.
Yes, I do. I was wondering if it's possible to optimize white scar tissue via laser skin resurfacing.
You mean improve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's probably difficult to say, but if there's the option, if there would be the option of having a procedure like this done, do you think that grafts could be damaged in the process?
Well, you said that you removed the grafts.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I'm not. I'm not sure if we're on the same page.
Probably not.
Yeah, no, I don't want to remove any more grafts. I just want to try to get the scar tissue.
Oh, so you're talking about the scar tissue in the donor area, not the recipient area.
No, I'm talking about the recipient area. Actually, both.
Okay, so I guess the question is, and this is where I'm confused. So walk me through this. You asked if removing the scar tissue or trying to resurface scar tissue would affect grafts in the future. But if you have no grafts in the recipient, are you asking, is it going to affect future growth of new implanted grafts? Is that your question?
No, is it going to affect growth of original hair that still remains in the scalp right now?
It can. If you are, and that's a good question. So you're talking about your native hair, not grafts that are going to be used in the front. You're talking about native hair. Absolutely. I mean, it really depends on how precise they are and if they're going to go to town on that area. But if it's completely bare where the scar tissue is, then no, it's not going to affect it. Unless it gets very close. I mean, unless you're actually lasering the native hair itself, then having something lasered adjacent to the native hair, it's not going to go deep enough to affect that hair follicle. Does that make sense, Joe?
Yes, it does. It does.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, and I'm trying to remember the name of the procedure, but there's a new procedure, relatively new, where they take real micro punches out of your skin.
Microcoring.
Microcoring, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it seems to be pretty precise, and I cannot speak to it as far as it helping you in particular, but I would assume that if the scar tissue is big enough, significant enough, that you can possibly diminish it to some degree using that technique.
Yeah.
Without having to worry about native hair or having to worry about, abrading your scalp anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
All right. Well, consider that. Look into it. I'm going to look into it actually now. And I said that I was going to look into it more when someone else called about it because it seems like it's a really interesting technique for a lot of things. Maybe I'll get my eyes done like that. Who knows? Right, Joe?
Exactly.
We're doing a show here, Joe. Let's do it. Come on.
Yeah, I know. I'm listening. So
right.
I got one question about how you got to Haddington Hair. What led you to Dr. Merceneau to get his opinion?
Well, he's on your list. That's the main reason.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I was wondering if you talk to other patients or if you are on alopecia.de and talk to people there because he's got a lot of patients there. So that's what I was asking. But that's good.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, listen.
That's the
before we let you go, we're going to take one more call. Is there anything else that you need from us right now?
No. It's just difficult to get any opinion on this because there's not a hair transplant surgeon who has done skin laser resurfacing or microcoring and is really public about it, or at least to my knowledge. So
It is difficult, and the challenge with the laser aspect is a lot of hair transplant surgeons will tell you that that's not a good idea, because if you go in for some sort of laser resurfacing, that can affect not just the hair that's in the immediate area that you're resurfacing, but also it's not so precise to where it's just going to isolate and target the one area that you're concerned about. It can actually affect a larger area, and if you have native hair in that target area to begin with, then, like you said, you don't want to damage that existing hair, and that's what will happen with laser resurfacing based on the frequency and the type of lasers that they're using. The microcoring, it's too new of a procedure, so you're not going to find, well, I won't say you won't find, but it will be difficult to find someone that's using this, and I think that it's in your best interest to wait until someone is talking about this, because once a hair transplant doctor does start doing this, in the limited cases that he finds where it's indicated, then yeah, you'll see it out there, but it'll take a while. So don't rush into that. Maybe find non-hair restoration specialists that are using that procedure on other types of cases, just to get their take. It doesn't mean that you have to use them, but you can use that opportunity to educate yourself about what it does and how it can affect the skin and the scar tissue. Okay?
Okay.
All right, man. Listen, good luck. I could hear the angst in your voice, and I understand it's, this is a difficult thing, especially, you were young, you started the process early, you obviously had entrusted this particular clinic, to help you. It didn't work out, and now you're trying to rectify the situation. So that's got to be incredibly frustrating. But the good news is you were told that all is not lost. You have plenty of hair that could still be moved in the future when the time is right. And, it's a fucked up, unfortunate lesson that you learned, but at least you weren't, at least from this conversation, it doesn't seem like you've been completely disfigured. It seems like there's you have a lot of hope.
True, yeah.
Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, well, good.
I'm not. I wouldn't call myself one of the walking wounded. It's definitely handleable.
Good, and that's you dodged a bullet. Let's put it that way, because you could have been a lot worse, and that's how you have to kind of go through life now. Just realize, all right, this sucks, but I'm going to move on to the next chapter and do my best to rectify this. And the fact that you were told that you can, it should give you some solace. Yeah. All right, man. And thanks for the call. And I really appreciate you coming on. I don't remember you saying anything about Specs being sleepy or whatever it is. I'm sure he doesn't remember either, so I wouldn't feel bad about it. But it's impressive that you came on to apologize. So thank you for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you very much for your patience, and have great next call.
Okay, man. Thank you, man. And good luck.
Thank
and
you.
You're always
Have a
welcome
good
to call. Take care. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hey, guys. It's Mike from New York. How you doing?
Mike from New York. What's happening, man?
Mike.
How you doing?
By the way, talking about comments, this one guy sent me all these comments from Joe's page. And Mike was brought up, that somehow we were mean to Mike.
No, I don't recall that.
God,
I
that's
guess
so old.
I'm going to tell, when I tell you who sent me this, you're going to be like, oh, what? The camera's not even on me. You're going to be like, this guy's a troublemaker. Mike, what's happening, man? How are you?
Pretty good. Same old stuff. I just, not to beat a dead horse, but, the shed is back pretty much in full effect.
You're not being
still losing a lot,
horse, man. That sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and the itching is still pretty bad. The reason I'm calling, I'm just asking. Obviously, I think at this point there's something else besides the DHT. Being on finasteride 5 days a week, dutasteride 2 days a week, and minoxidil once a day. Could this be something else? Could it be an inflammatory response? Something of that nature. I mean, I read that inflammation could cause the hair loss to worsen and speed up the balding process, because you're every time you're shedding those hairs, you're getting miniaturized hairs put back, which is a lot faster. And again, I notice the majority of hairs I'm losing look miniaturized and shorter, so that they're not completing the growth cycle. So, it's kind of discouraging. I'm not sure if there's anything else I could be doing at this point to alleviate this problem.
Well, what was it? What was it you're taking now? You said minoxidil and what else?
So I'm on 1 milligram finasteride 5 days a week, 0.5 dutasteride 2 days a week, and minoxidil 5% every day of the week at night. Okay. All name brand.
And all this started with the PRP from the med spa, but so refresh my memory. What's happened with the dermatitis issue?
So I went
with the dermatitis assumption, with the dermatologist, yeah.
Yeah, so Bernstein, I went to a regular dermatologist first, and then I went to Bernstein. Bernstein said he didn't see any surface dermatitis or inflammation. He did see slight.
Was this
dandruff.
during an outbreak, or was it feeling better when you went to him?
No, this was during a bad point. This is before he put me on the antihistamines. And I do notice when I take the antihistamines, it is a little bit better, but I can't be on it. That's masking whatever this problem is.
Yeah. You're not dealing with the root cause, and that's what you want to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what did the dermatologist say before Bernstein?
She said that she didn't see any dermatitis, that it could be an allergy issue, or it could it could just be the hair loss kicking up. Again, she's just a PA dermatologist, but she said that she was the one who put me on the dutasteride. I started 1 day a week with the dutasteride, and then I upped it to 2 days. I've probably been on it now a few months, 2 or 3 months at least, of the dutasteride 2 days a week. And I'm also using Nizoral shampoo and then every other day. And then the other days I'm using the Vanacream shampoo, which is basically a shampoo that doesn't have any fragrance. It has nothing. It has the base ingredients a shampoo could have in it, because I wanted to eliminate the possibility of any fragrances or any chemicals causing it. Now, I am using the Topic pretty heavily, a lot of Topic. The issue is I'm putting a lot of Topic, then I put the Rogaine on at night with the Topic in, then I wash everything out in the morning, then Topic goes right back in, so my scalp doesn't get a break.
Mike, did I ever ask you, I don't mean to cut you off, but did I ever ask you, did you ever have COVID during this time?
So I was sick a couple times, nothing severe. It was like a cold, and one was a fever that could have been COVID, but I didn't have any respiratory. I didn't have the typical symptoms of COVID, but I never got a COVID test. So yeah, sure, it is possible. Yes.
Okay, and was this prior to the significant telogen that you experienced?
I don't remember. I don't think so. I want to say it was after, because the PRP when the telogen kicked in was last July. It was right around this time, actually, if you remember.
Now, did you have a vaccine?
No vaccine.
Okay. I mean, obviously, it's a logical line of questioning, because, given your experience, is it possible to be kicked into a telogen effluvium from, going to having PRP or having bad PRP or just luck of the draw? Absolutely. But there's also possibilities that other things are going on with your body that you may not be looking at. So that's why I threw that question out. Now, Have you had any other blood work done? Have you had your thyroid checked? I know these are all typical hair loss questions, but I'm just curious.
So they didn't do an allergy test, but the dermatologist, the PA, did do a blood test, and everything she said came back perfectly normal.
So your ferritin levels, your thyroid, all that stuff was fine. Your liver enzymes.
I believe so. She just did whatever the standard blood test tests for.
Okay.
And the funny thing is DHT was on that list, and the DHT, I said, is it very low because I'm on all these meds? And she said, no, it's about normal. It's about, I can't remember the number she gave me, but I was surprised that it wasn't very low taking all these DHT blockers.
Well, you're taking 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, which should lower DHT, but it could be lowered to a point that's still within normal range.
Gotcha.
Right.
So even if you lower it by 70%, some guys' DHT is through the fucking roof. and that's how their hair follicles become sensitive to it.
And the funny thing is,
sorry, I was going to say, I think that it's a good idea to actually follow through with the allergy test, because I think that that's a potential culprit where something in your environment, something in your diet, is maybe causing this, and I think it's definitely worthwhile. And even if it's not directly causing this, it could be the cause of a chain reaction that's leading to this issue. Because allergies are funny, man. It's like you can have an allergy to one thing, but it causes this cascading effect through like even low-grade chronic inflammation that you don't even notice because it's internal and it's causing a litany of issues that's creating this cascading effect where the itching may be a side effect several times removed from the original source of the allergen. And on top of that, repeat to me what you're saying about your topic and minoxidil nightly routine.
Before you do that, I have one more question. Were you in the year prior ever taking or put on antibiotics?
No.
Okay. Go ahead. Answer Joe's question.
So my nightly routine is I get up, I wash my hair with the shampoos I outlined, I take the pills, I put the topic in, I have topic on all day, I come home, I put the minoxidil in with the topic still in, then I go to bed, I get up, I wash everything out, and then I'm reapplying topic. So the topic never has a chance to leave the scalp. But two things I want to point out is all these years I've been using topic, albeit less heavily because I had more hair, and it never caused an issue. And secondly, I tried a couple days with no topic in and no styling at all. I just wore a hat, and it was still itchy and still falling out.
Yeah, okay. So here's an idea. First off, people can develop allergies to things that they've been doing for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can develop an allergy to shellfish 30 years after you've been eating it every day.
Right.
It happens. It's a spontaneous allergen
fuck me up
reaction.
with that stuff, Joe.
And so because you're not taking this off long enough for your scalp to recover, and because you're that's what I think might be going on. There's a potential for this where you're not giving your scalp a break, and just because you take a day or two to not use it, not style your hair and throw on a baseball cap, that's not long enough. You got to give it weeks because your whole body is going through this cycle where it has to recover, regenerate, new cells for the areas that are being affected. Because your body is completely new. Every 6 weeks, every cell in your body is regenerated into a new one. So your body's different every 6 weeks, basically. So it could take that long to go through.
So I don't have a 57-year-old dick? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's only 6 weeks old.
That's awesome. That's what she said.
Awesome. Yeah. You got baby dick. So, explains a lot. So there's a potential that could have something to do with it.
So I
sorry for the joke in there, Mike. But yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
You'd have to potentially give up on
that's a
your
tough
topic
thing,
for a while.
or maybe switch to something else as a cover.
Yeah, because
at the very
basically I'm going
least,
to have to put a ball cap on for 6 weeks because my hair looks like shit without the topic.
At the very least, work your way into this solution by not sleeping with topic in your hair. Okay, I know that can cause an issue because here's the thing. You put the topic in, you leave it in all day, you come home, you put minoxidil in, that's creating a harsher environment for the removal of all that topic the next day. I guarantee you're not getting all the topic out every morning before you put in more. So you've got a long-term issue here with topic that's still in your scalp from maybe a couple of weeks ago before it's been properly washed out. And this has nothing to do with your cleaning habits. This is just a fact of life. We're, especially as guys, like we just want to, wash your hair and get out. You need to wash your hair more thoroughly. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, if I'm really vigorous with washing my hair, I can just cause more hair loss, so you don't do it. I don't know. You may or may not be in that situation.
Okay, so are you using the
I
brand?
do know guys that have.
You're using the brand topic?
Yeah, I'm using the brand topic, and to answer Joe's question, I wash my hair pretty thoroughly. I even use one of those Scalp brush massagers in the hair to really get in the scalp and remove any topic or Rogaine flakes.
So there are products, there are hair fibers that are made of a natural organic type of it's a very specific cotton, and I should know this, but it is not made of the same keratin material and chemicals, the silica that is in brands like Topic. And I think one product is, I'm trying to find it here.
Kabuki, is that one?
I think there's one that's Kabuki. There's a lot of them. I mean, basically, all these products are all bought in China. And, like, if we wanted to slap the Bald Truth hair fiber product together, no problem. And you can pick whether it's a Topic type of fiber or if it's this cotton type of fiber. That may be a way to potentially, test the waters, because you're going to be using something that's completely different.
Yeah, that's true. The only thing is I have itching in the donor area, and I don't put Topic there, so I'm not sure if it's that, but I'll certainly give it a try if I can switch to the cotton.
I mean, it's possible
one.
It could be referred itching, which is common. Yeah. I mean, if you're having some sort of inflammatory effect in one part of your scalp, the rest of your scalp, your neck, your face, things like that, you could have itching there as well.
Yeah.
Right.
I would suggest that you try washing it out at night first. Sleep with a clean scalp. Wash it again in the morning if you need to, and then don't sleep with Topic in. You really don't need to do that. Just
so basically,
not to
I'm
mention
have to
when
wash...
not to mention when you're washing your scalp at night before you put on the minoxidil and you're getting rid of all the Topic, you're getting a better application of the minoxidil because the Topic is in the way. The oils of your scalp are in the way at the end of the day. Wash your hair first, get it clean, put on your minoxidil, have a good night's sleep, wake up in the morning, wash it again, put in your Topic, and go about your day. Try that for a month and see if that causes any sort of improvement or reduction in the issue.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. There's a couple of companies. There's Vibrin or Fibron. That guy, what's his name? O.J. Simpson's butler. What was that guy's name? The blonde hair guy. He's on the website for this.
Cato.
Cato, yeah.
Oh, Cato.
Yeah.
Cato, the house guest.
Yeah. Cato's pimping this stuff out. So yeah, I mean, I would try that. That would be my first move.
All right, yeah, I'll try that. It's just I thought that that would be too much hair washing. The only other, but that's fine if you think it's not a problem. But the only other thing I could think of doing would be to switch to oral minoxidil, because then I could just wash my hair at night and not shower again in the morning. The reason I'm having to shower again in the morning is the minoxidil is making my hair greasy and horrible and all clumped together.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to apply topical minoxidil at night without showering again in the morning.
I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
We're not doctors, but if you're able to get off the topical minoxidil, that may actually help a lot with your, with your inflammation.
Well, Bernstein actually offered it to me when I went in. He offered me oral minoxidil, and I told him no because I read that it has all these heart side effects issues.
It all comes down to, you have to do your due diligence, but you have to understand your risk tolerance ratio. And there's a lot of guys who do very well on it, but that's a concern, and it's a very real concern.
Can that cause issues with more shedding because I'm switching from topical to oral and it's a new thing to the body?
It can.
It can.
But I would say that it's probably unlikely, given your current situation, that it's going to make things worse.
Okay. Well, I'll try the double washing first, like Joe said, for a month and see if that does anything.
I mean, if you're shedding massively right now, I do not think that. If you're going to switch anything in your regimen, this is the time to make that switch, in my view. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah.
I agree.
Because
I agree.
That'll at least give it a break at night from the topic.
Well, that, and I'm talking about the medication as well. I mean,
right.
if any time during this process you want to switch things up, it's not when things have kind of resolved themselves. It's when you're going through your worst.
Okay.
So that's something to consider. But yeah, I mean, listen to Joe about the washing your scalp, and I think switching your fibers may be beneficial.
So you think the cotton fibers are better than the keratin fibers?
They may be for you.
Right.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what
All
I
right,
said.
I'll
Maybe.
definitely look into that. I appreciate it.
All right, Mike. Good luck. I'm so sorry
All right.
to hear that you're continuing to go through this, but fingers crossed.
Well, I'm trying to fight to the bitter end here.
I get it. I get it. And you know what?
All right.
We're here for you, man. Take care.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Okay.
Have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
All right,
Say,
bye.
Mike. Bye.
Do you want to take one more call, Joe? We'll try to make it short, or do you want to go?
Let's do it, man. We're on a roll.
All right. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Adam from Wisconsin.
Adam from Wisconsin.
Hello,
What's
Adam.
happening, man?
Hey guys, how's it going? I
You
just
know,
made it in
not bad.
time.
Pretty good.
You sound a little muffled. Are you on a speakerphone, or are you like talking under your blanket?
No, I'm sitting on a chair, but I'm wondering, maybe that's because I'm sick.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It kind of leads me to my question. Following up on the, you asked that last caller if he had COVID.
Yeah.
And that could have been a possibility of his shedding. Well, I just got COVID Monday. I started feeling all the symptoms, and on that same day when I hit the shower, dude, I just started shedding like an abnormal. Not abnormal. I guess I've had really rough periods of shedding because I'm like a diffuse thinner.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not saying I drop clumps every day in the shower, but I definitely notice a lot. Well, it started again, and it was on Monday, and it was when I had the COVID symptoms, and I feel like I do have some sort of TE going on, and I guess my question is how long could this last for? Because it just started as soon as I started feeling sick too.
Well, it's unusual for telogen effluvium to kick in that early into the illness. Normally, you would start to see the hair loss weeks, if not months, but usually weeks, after the resolution of whatever illness it is. It would be COVID, a super bad flu, or whatever. So it's kind of unusual that you got the symptoms or you were diagnosed and all of a sudden you went through a tremendous shed. Not saying that didn't happen, but to make that correlation, it's unusual. I don't know if it's possible, but that's not usually how it works. And as far as knowing how long it lasts, we never really know how long it lasts, but in general terms, people or physicians will say a shed that's caused by an illness like that could last up to 6 months and then usually resolves itself. It's usually less than that, but that's a possibility. That's kind of like on the outset, if that makes sense. I used the wrong word, Joe, but whatever.
It's okay.
Joe says it's okay.
Yeah, I got you.
So how are you feeling right now?
Still pretty sick. I went and got tested today, and I still have it.
Are you being treated?
I've gotten the vaccine. I've had both shots.
But are you being treated for the COVID currently?
Treated?
Yeah, like have you been given any medication? Have you taken monoclonal antibodies? Any other treatments which I'm not allowed to mention? Or is anything prescribed to you?
No, I didn't even really tell my doctor. I was just kind of old-fashioned, I guess, more just chicken noodle soup and NyQuil and Advil and.
Well, listen, I mean, you're obviously, there's a good chance you're going to recover just fine, but there are treatments available, and monoclonal antibodies are available in most states currently that can, really shorten the time the virus is, or halt the replication of the virus. So, I would suggest that anyone who has the virus, whether you're vaccinated or not, should talk to their doctors about what treatments are available now, just to kind of shorten the length of time that you're sick. And that could also help in the long run with anyone suffering from telogen effluvium.
100%.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, shit. I mean, I'm pretty sure my doctor's office is closed for the weekend now, so I'd have to wait till Monday. But
well, see how you feel. You may be completely recovered by that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm starting to feel better. Today it was weird. Today I just finally lost my sense of taste. So I that was new. But all the other symptoms, for the most part, I mean, I woke up with pretty bad headache, night sweats. The night sweats are still there. I guess, no, same symptoms, just they kind of cooled off a little bit more.
Well, listen, I wish you a speedy recovery. Listen, we're not doctors, but it's unusual. I mean, you've been dealing with hair loss, and anything can cause a shed, but usually the stress occurs, and then that is what affects the hair cycle, and it doesn't just fall out. It's not like an anagen effluvium, like if you're having chemotherapy or something. It takes a while to affect your hair growth, and it usually takes several weeks, probably about 6 weeks after the stressor.
Yeah, I guess it's shedding definitely does really fucking suck, but it's not. This has kind of been going on for like the last 3 years. I've just had 3 years since I've noticed, that I have angiogenic alopecia, and I've been on dutasteride, Avodart, once every other day for the last year now, and minoxidil. That's kind of been the same regimen for the last year, and I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed to be hair loss proof now, so I'm hoping.
Well, how has that worked out for you? Did you see an improvement from that combination?
Definitely no regrowth at all. I guess when I kind of look back at my pictures and I kind of look at what I have now, it's so hard to tell, man, because I have like coarse hair and I had a lot of it, but it's like I don't have a pattern. I have diffused.
Okay.
So it's kind of hard to tell, even with the pictures. Sometimes it's so weird.
Well, you know what? That's actually a good thing, because if you can't tell in pictures and it doesn't really look like there's a pattern, then that's a good thing, because you're not looking like you're losing your hair. The problem is that you're seeing the hair falling out, and it might not. It probably feels less full than it had maybe a few years ago. Is that another symptom that you're seeing? It just feels thinner.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like 3 years ago to today, it's kind of it's a bit of a change, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well,
definitely.
the good thing is if it's not cosmetically looking like you've lost your hair, then that's a huge bonus or a huge win, because you don't have to deal with what a lot of other guys deal with, where people see that they lost their hair. So I hope you see that that's actually a good thing. And so if the medication's working and you're not seeing that it's growing anything more because you got so much hair now, but it's keeping it steady, then that's a huge win. It's not always a restoration of growth that's a big win using these medications. It's stopping the loss to where it just doesn't look any worse. And that establishes a baseline. If you want to do surgery, if there's even enough room for surgery in between the follicles, it creates a solid baseline for that possibility.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay, if there's enough space to do surgery, yeah. You see, my main issue is around the crown and the mid scalp area, and it takes a lot of effort to be able to hide everything, and I also do use Topic, like the last caller.
Tell me about it, man.
Yeah, I use it, I've been using it for like 3 years, 2 years now, and it helps. It's nice. But about that spacing with, what was that about?
What?
Spacing between hair follicles for transplants? You need a certain space.
Well, yeah, like if you have enough space in between the follicles, because you're just telling me that you got enough hair to where it doesn't it's not obvious that there's a pattern of loss, which means that it still looks pretty full. And so a lot of patients will not realize that they can't have a hair transplant because they haven't lost enough hair. In other words, the spaces in between the follicles aren't big enough to place a new hair from the donor zone, right? So there's you get to with your loss where it can still look okay, but the spacing in between the follicles, because of the follicles that have fallen out and not returned, then you can have a hair transplant for thickening. But there are a lot of cases where it's not gotten to that point yet. It might not feel as full as it used to. It may not feel as thick as it used to, but it still looks good enough to where people don't think that you've lost your hair. And that threshold determines whether you can put new hairs in between those existing hairs, or if it's still too much of a, if they're still too close. Because if it's too close, then when you try to place, make the incisions for those new hairs, then you wind up destroying the hair that's already there. And that's called permanent shock loss, which you don't want to add to the issue. It can actually negate the surgery itself because you've killed more than you've actually replaced.
Oh, man. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, man. I wish you a speedy recovery. Appreciate the call. Hang in there. And it's unlikely again that your current telogen was caused by, COVID immediately. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. Just concentrate on getting better.
Okay. Yeah, and thanks for the information on the hair loss and the COVID.
All right, man. Good luck.
Sure thing.
Okay. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, we're taking the last call of the night, people, because I got to eat dinner.
I got to eat too.
Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, hello. This is Gypsy from LA.
Who is it?
Gypsy from LA.
Gypsy. Welcome, man.
Gypsy. Hello, Gypsy.
Thank you. I'm doing pretty fantastic. First time caller. Not a long time listener, but a listener nevertheless.
All right, awesome. That's a very Tom Likas thing. So you used to listen to Likas?
No, I just meaning that I haven't been listening for a long time.
No, his whole thing is like first time caller, long time listener, and that's why I got that. I thought
okay.
Since you're in LA, I thought maybe you used to listen to Tom Likas. But go ahead.
No, yeah. So I just wanted to call and talk a little bit about the event, the consultations that Eugenics recently did. I actually made an appointment for one, and the process was actually kind of nice with their customer service. But the consultation itself, I think it left a lot to be desired.
Okay,
really?
Let's talk about that. That's important.
How so?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I made my appointment at 2 p.m. That's when I went back and forth. I actually did an online consultation with pictures before they gave me a slot. So I got a quote for grafts, and we discussed pricing afterwards. But I guess, I don't know, my expectations were a little too high, where I went and thinking, okay, well, I don't need to go to India to get a personal consultation. He's going to be here, so I'll just book my slot. They did call me that same day and say, hey, your appointment is at 2. Can you make it at 9 a.m.? This was like at 8:20. And I'm like, no, there's no way I'm going to make it. Plus, I already scheduled my date based on this. When I got there, it was, I don't know if it was because it was the end of the day. I was second to last on the appointment book, I guess. And it was just Dr. Setti with a bunch of other guys that were there before me, more like just kind of like talking around the table. And that's all it was. And the conversation was around hair loss and everything else, but it was kind of like very informal. It's kind of like a boys club, just, sitting down, having a drink, talking about their hair loss. He did ask me to take my hat out because I was wearing a hat. And he came and looked at the back of my hair, my donor area. He said I had a great donor area, but I guess the vibe wasn't there for me, and I didn't feel like it was personalized enough. And
I listen. I actually get that. If I went and if it, they used to have things called open houses back in the day, and they still do to some degree, where you would see an infomercial on television, and they would the companies would. There's a place called New Heart Hair Clinics. This was the big one. I went to one of theirs, and I was mortified. But it was at the Marriott Marquis Hotel in Times Square. Go in there, and there's all these sad motherfuckers just like me waiting around. And we go into this, and then they have this ballroom, and they basically have these dividers like you'd see in an office, like cubicles. And I'm sat down with a girl that looked like she was my age at the time, like 23, assessing my hair loss. I'm like, am I going to get to see a doctor?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, the doctor's going to come around. Doctor comes in, swoops around. She's like, you have beautiful donor hair. And she's like, your hair is beautiful to begin with. You just need a little bit of, work in the front. And I'm like, so that's it? I have beautiful hair and beautiful donor hair, and this is how much you could do, what you can do. So she sits down. I never forget this chick, and she's telling me how many grafts she thinks I need and how much it's going to cost. And she hands me a fucking coupon, and I walk out the door with the rest of the sad motherfuckers. And
what the hell just happened?
Yeah. And well, it actually helped me to focus enough and understand what the industry was about. That's one of the reasons I wrote the book, besides meeting Norman Orenreich. But to get back to you, I would feel like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm coming to see a doctor. I'm not coming to talk to a bunch of other, sad motherfuckers like me sitting around a table talking about their hair loss. With that said, I think that Dr. Pradeep, he's very informal. He also likes to meet people. He's a very, people-oriented person, and he likes people to
very sociable.
And he's very social. A lot of people do feel very comfortable around that, and they kind of attach themselves, and feel comfortable having surgery with him because of that type of bedside manner. But I do agree that having a actual consultation where it's just you and the physician is preferable, and then you can go out and hang out with the boys if you want.
Yeah, I saw a lot of the guys respond to his way of approaching things, and I can see why that's beneficial. I mean, personally, for me, I feel sorry for you, Steven, because my experience wasn't that bad. But that whole friendly approach, I think it worked for the guys, and I think some of the guys were also reacting to this kind of like starstruck, reaction, like, oh my God,
it happens.
Dr. Pradeep,
it happens. Look, I kind of look at the way you do, because I started doing these travel consultations 13 years ago. I was the first one to actually start doing this, to go to other countries and start consultations. And I'll never forget the first time I did that. There was 200 people that showed up just to see me. They're not doctors weren't there. I just happened to be in Italy. Yeah. And Dr. Hassan asked me if I could do, just meet with a few patients. It's like, okay, sure. So the guy that runs the Italian forum, I called him up. I'm like, can you make this announcement? He's like, okay, sure. And 3 days later, 200 people showed up, and it was complete pandemonium. But what I tried to keep in mind was that each one of these guys wanted to have a personal discussion about their issues, about their problems. And so I was there for like 10 hours talking to these guys, and the social aspect, they took care of themselves while they were outside waiting to talk to me. And so I understand the power of that social aspect. I really do. And with Pradeep, like, there's probably not a more sociable and friendly doctor in this industry like Dr. Pradeep, like Dr. Sethi. Like, he loves talking to people. He loves meeting new people.
He's a good guy, and he's a good doctor. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, and every patient that he works on, he keeps talking about how, this is my brother. This is my brother. That's my Pradeep impersonation. This is my brother. I do the surgery. Yeah. He's my brother. So, I do that lovingly because he's such a nice guy. But But I understand where you're coming from, because I do kind of believe that there needs to be more of a one-on-one situation, because guys like you and so many others don't want a bunch of these other motherfuckers hang around while they're talking about your personal issues, because you might be in a position where, if you're in a one-on-one situation, to tell him how it's affecting you personally, like emotionally. You don't want a bunch of other guys hearing this shit. You want to be able to tell him this in private. And I get that.
Yeah, no,
I get that.
I don't mind the camaraderie. I mean, I can see that in a different setting or afterwards. It was just the more detailed stuff, like, you know, I wanted to ask about transaction rate, survival rate, you know, those kinds of things. I mean, he did take the time. He's very nice. Obviously, he knows stuff, and but you know, he did show me on his phone. He showed me a case that he did that was similar to mine, and he's like, "Look, I did this, and this is the end result." It says, "You have too much hair on your donor area." He said, "I can easily get 5,000-6,000, no problem. You will still keep the same volume or the appearance of volume, and your progression is such a perfect case, meaning, I guess, because I need a little bit on the front, I need on the crown, mid-scalp is a little thin, but overall, I've been able to disguise it with topic and, you know, the usual things. Emotionally, I don't think I'm in a bad place. It is what it is, you know. I'm gonna try to battle it out, and that's that. You know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's life. You know, and I am more interested in Dr. Erica. Sorry. That's who I'm really interested in being involved with my procedure. But since he was here, I'm like, well, let me take the opportunity. And you know, being in LA, I've also been in the film and music industry, so I've met enough celebrities that the starstruck thing doesn't really work with me. So
yeah. It gets kind of old.
I like it.
Yeah, I understand that. I always thought it was as fascinating to see people or patients who are starstruck by physicians. I mean, I always found that to be like anybody. I always found that to be, to me, that was always like an odd, you know. And they would also idolize them online until they didn't anymore, you know, and that kind of becomes a way, sadly, where a lot of more vulnerable patients, younger people, are kind of sucked into having surgery because there's this bizarre celebrity stuff. It's not Dr. Setti's fault. It's really just the way people react.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and especially with social media being the king of popularity now. I mean, it's anybody who has a decent amount of success on YouTube or any other platform is going to become
ridiculous. I actually had to get published on the radio to become famous.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, not to say anything, but I've even experienced that, and I'm nobody. I've never experienced that because I'm in LA, in the South. In the South, they think you're a movie star, right?
Yeah.
And I also, because I've been in the industry and the kind of music I play and everything, I've had people come up to me at weddings and say, "Hey, can you sign this CD for me?" I'm like, "I'm not that artist."
That's awesome.
Yeah, but you play their music. I saw your concert.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, look, man, listen, thanks for the call. I'm sorry. I understand why you would be disappointed, and you also it seems like you are, you know, thoughtful enough and understanding enough to know that it doesn't really reflect on Dr. Setti's skills or his love of the game, and he's a really caring doctor. But yeah, I'd be turned off too. I really would be.
Well, let me ask this: Did you come away with, like, did you eventually get the information you wanted?
I did. It was a combination of the online consultation through their customer service and him. They quoted me 4,400 grafts. Done. They said they can do it in 2 days. The full procedure in 2 days. They quoted me in price. When I saw they suggested about, I believe it was about 3,700 scalp grafts, and then about 1,200, or I may have like the numbers wrong, but some beard grafts. When I Dr. Setti saw me, he says, you don't need beer grass. We can get everything from your scalp. And he quoted me about 5,000. He says, you will need the temple points, which is something that they didn't address on the online. So, but it was just for me to start getting my toes wet. You know, I've been doing research for maybe about 2 to 3 years. I finally got on finasteride and minoxidil November 2021. Yeah. So it's been like a 7 months. When they did a follow-up call, I said, listen, I'm not going to give you a deposit. I'm not going to schedule anything. I'm not going to even start considering taking that step until I'm my first year on medication.
That's smart, man. Take your time, man.
Good man.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.
I like this caller.
So
Well done.
I had a previous consultation in Mexico, which was not too dissimilar to what I've been told already, but you know, I just didn't have the vibe with that doctor. But and I told him, listen, I haven't made a choice with you. I'm considering other clinics in Spain and Bulgaria, you know, even in the U.S. So my decision, it's at least 5 months out, if not more. If I really start seeing more results come my first year of finasteride, then I'll keep pushing it to see how far I can go.
How much you want to bet you'll get a call from him in 5 months? Did you decide?
I'll probably call it.
Listen, no matter what, the best surgeons in the world, the most well-intentioned, they're still in business. That's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
And you obviously know that, but you sound like you're a together guy, and it's great. You're doing your research. I would feel exactly the same as you, and you know, maybe that's something that at some point, obviously we won't say who it is, you know, but you know, I mean, Dr. said he should know that, you know, that there are people out there who don't necessarily want to sit around a fucking lunch table and tell the world or, you know, talk about their hair loss when they're just interested in having a medical assessment.
Yeah, he made a joke. He's like, oh, you've been on finasteride. Can you convince this guy to get on finasteride? So I spent like 10 minutes talking to this guy about why he should get on finasteride.
Yeah, like your time's not valuable. But no,
I don't mind.
Of course, I'd be the same way. I do it on the program, but you know, if someone ever asked me, man, I would spend an hour with them just telling them the virtues in my world of the drug. But we're not really allowed to talk about that sometimes, sadly. We talk about it on the air. I don't give a shit, but we've gotten so much shit about talking about this, our reality with the use of this drug. I had a company that reached out to me. I had a company that reached out to me that actually wants to work with us in the American Hair Loss Association. They're not in the hair loss business, but let's just put it, they're in the hormone business in a sense, you know, like TRT type of thing, and they're totally anti-finasteride in their video content. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, you're prescribing, well, first of all, you're prescribing this stuff and you're anti-finasteride? Like, none of it made sense. It's all affecting your hormones. But I just find, we live in a very interesting world, man. You sound like a smart guy. Surgery is always going to be there. I wish you the best of luck. This is our last call.
Oh yeah,
and it's a good one of the
night. I'm 46. I'm in no rush. I started listening at 30, and I'm still pretty good. I mean, considering. And yeah, I know the whole business aspect because that's also what I do for a living. I'm a business consultant, so I teach these guys how to sell something.
I want to tell you something fucked up in how my mind works. When I hear 46, I think it's old, and I'm 10 years old, 11 years older than you. That's how our minds are set. As kids, we think that's someone in their 40s is an old guy. I'm 57.
Well, I'm mainly saying that for the young guys who are the ones that are more, you know, worried about this. I think. I mean, I noticed the hair loss at 30, and I've always had long hair, so it was also kind of disguised. I didn't notice it as much as, you know, in later years. And my only regret was not getting that medication early enough.
Yeah,
but
that's pretty
that
common.
being said and
Me
done,
too.
you know, it's life. It's a natural process, and it is what it is.
Well, listen, man, good luck. Thanks for the
said.
call. We're going to call it a night. I got to eat. Joe's got to give out the websites. And
Yes, I do.
appreciate your patronage, and I wish you the best of luck.
No problem. Joe, one last question. Is it okay
Yes.
to send you some pictures and the assessment from eugenics, and you can give me maybe Anthony?
Only if you give me an autograph. Of course. Absolutely.
Okay.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you both.
All right. Thanks for
All
calling.
right, man. You take care. Take it easy.
Okay.
Joe, can you please give out the websites?
Thank God, yes. I'm so hungry right now. Yes. Let's start off with Hair Loss Experiences, one of the better forums out there. We like those guys. They really do help to support this channel, this YouTube channel, by allowing us to embed on their platform. That's hairlossexperiences.com. What else we got? We got some new ones. Of course, the ever popular, love them, you like them, you can't live without them, hairlosscure2020.com. It is the place to go for all things non-surgical hair loss. We're talking about cloning, hair regeneration, all these things that are going on in the non-surgical hair restoration world. That's the place to go because the boy is on top of that shit. He knows what's going on, and I really appreciate his support. We appreciate his support. That's hairlosscure2020.com. Also, apetogentleman.com. It is the home for the Bald Truth UK with Spencer Kobren and Spencer Specs Stevenson. Episodes are going up how often, Spencer?
I don't know. Whenever.
That's apetogentleman.com.
It's supposed to go up once a week, but we haven't been able to record for a while.
Yeah, but it's not happening. But when it does happen, it is a wonderful event. That's apetogentleman.com. The other websites, my own personal journey and doctors I work with, and the world's largest and most comprehensive online dictionary or glossary about hair loss and hair restoration terms. That is hairtransplantmentor.com TM. There's also a great place to start for your hair restoration research. That is the International Alliance of Hair Restoration Surgeons. That's IAHRS.com. Lots of great doctors on there, but like with any list, everyone has had failures and problems, and a patient that says, I hate this doctor, but it's better than most. So I do encourage you to check them out. Safe place to start your research for hair transplant surgery. Of course, if you're listening to this broadcast on iTunes or iHeartRadio or any of the streaming platforms for audio podcasts, you can also watch us live right here on my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/hairtransplantmentor. And what am I missing out on? I forgot something.
American Hair Loss Association. Bald Truth Talk.
Oh, yeah, those. Yeah. American Hair Loss Association, the de facto standard for all things hair loss and hair restoration related, if it is being talked about not just in big media like Wall Street Journal, Maxim magazine, New York Times, but also cited in actual scientific journals. It's everywhere, and it is the largest hair loss and hair restoration organization that you've never heard of. That's AmericanHairLoss.org. I like that line.
I don't.
Bald Truth Talk. I do. Hair loss. You got me confused. Bald Truth Talk. It is the forum where you can see us. You can see me. You can see lots of patients sharing their experiences. What you won't see are patients slagging off and talking about other patients' results because that's just not right. It is a moderated forum. It is a safe place to go and read up on anything and everything related to hair restoration surgery, but also stay off the forums because you don't want to get too addicted to it. It's easy to do. And I think that's it.
Hate the forums.
Yeah.
Guys, everyone has heard of the American Hair Loss Association, dude. The only people that may not have heard of the American Hair Loss Association are some of the idiots in the field.
I say that because like American Hair Loss Association, like, yeah, I think I heard of that. But they've all seen it.
Yeah.
Right? They've all seen it in all the publications. That's what I was talking about.
I know that, man. I'm just
I know you know.
Give me shit. I'm tired. I am hungry, and I got to go. I have dinner plans, and I've been texting saying I'm going to be late, but I'll be there. All right, guys, listen. Yeah, go ahead. What?
I just wasn't sure if you were disinterested. You're on your phone. It's like, what's going on? So.
No. I'm on my laptop.
Gotcha.
Not on my phone. Here, where's my phone? I lost my phone. All right, guys, listen. Until next time, be strong. God bless, and thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the program, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid.